Hello, Cleveland!
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, February 17th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1113.
This is No Agenda.
Tracing Jamaican heritage and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're all talking metric, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
And he weasels it in. Go ahead, talk about metric.
Okay, here I am. I'm trying to print out the clip list.
Yes.
And I'm noticing this. It's cutting off the bottom clip. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but I would say, did you see a clip that says, oh, yeah, you have it. And so I'm thinking.
Yes, I've noticed this several times.
Yeah, and so I'm saying, well, let me just put more room at the bottom of the page before I print, and that's just solve the issue. But I got on my nerves because the thing doesn't print out, doesn't look right. So I started looking at all the settings, and then all of us, for some reason, this Epson printer, it has been set, and I can assure you that in a million years, I would not have done this. It's been set for A4 paper, which is that horrible, long, kind of goofy-looking paper that the Europeans use.
It's what I grew up with. It doesn't feel bad to me.
No, it feels awkward to me. And I also don't like the fact that it has a name A4 instead of a dimension, which I think is more appropriate for anything such as this, like 8.5 by 11. It's 8.5 inches by 11 inches. You know the size. What's the size of an A4 sheet?
I don't know. 4?
Yeah, see, there you
4.
go. They're trying to separate you from reality. This is the kind of globalist thing that they do.
Okay,
now,
got it.
Now, I'm reminded of when I was a kid in the 60s, and then again when I was writing for, I think it was InfoWorld. When I was a kid, I was told in high school, and metric, get used to it. We're all going metric. And that didn't pan out, to say the least. And then so like 20 years later, it comes up in a conversation. I'm getting all kinds of memos from everyone. Get ready to go to A4 paper. The United States is going to have to use A4 paper by law. Because apparently you were going to have to do anything with the Europeans to even talk to them or send them a sheet or a letter or a memo. It has to be on A4 paper or you'll be arrested.
This was probably one of the early globalist moves that took place.
I think so. Well, and so I'm saying, A4 paper is dumb, but okay. Because, everyone has the 8.5 by 11. Nothing came of it. Another bluff. Which brings me to Brexit, which I think this whole thing that's going to be some sort of a horrible disaster is also a bluff.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
I tied it in. I got no clips, but I tied it in.
Well, luckily the show has a clip. I got a clip right here. I got a Brexit clip for you. This was something that was not really picked up. Maybe you saw the president's Rose Garden speech about the national emergency.
Yeah.
He had quite a little preamble, and he had some post-amble as well, which is always, to me, the most entertaining.
He's always ambling, isn't he?
Yes. He had this to say about the UK's.
The UK and the US, as you probably have been seeing and hearing, we're agreeing to go forward and preserve our trade agreement. You know all of the situation with respect to Brexit and the complexity and the problems, but we have a very good trading relationship with UK, and that's just been strengthened further. So with the UK, we're continuing our trade, and we are going to actually be increasing it very substantially as time goes by. We expect that the UK will be very, very substantially increased as it relates to trade with the United States. The relationship there also is very good.
Yes, very good. Very bigger, very strong. Much more, much more trades. The greatest trades ever. We trade, we came, we trod, sawed, traded. I guess we cut some kind of deal.
Yeah, it seems that I'm guessing we're going to see a lot more British jams and jellies.
Ooh. I don't really have an update. Aren't they in the middle of some deliberation at the moment in the Brexit process?
I think they're all in straitjackets at this point.
No, it's kind of sad because even if you go to Euronews, you're just looking for some news. you can't really get it. It's just on Brexit. It's just like, maybe a thing here or there. It just doesn't seem like they've got anything.
It's because they got nothing.
They got nothing. That would make sense. I did learn something about Europe, actually. Something really important. Remember the news article that we had maybe 2 shows ago about the Italians kicking the French ambassador out?
Yeah, well, I think it was mutual. Did this begin with the French recalling the ambassador to Italy? Aren't the French the aggressors in this deal?
No, I think the Italians were the aggressors. The Italians.
It was the French because they were irked about the Italians. This, unfortunately, we should know all this. They were irked about the Italians meddling in their yellow vest protests.
Well, that wasn't. I think France. Oh yeah, it does say this. France is sending its ambassador back to Italy following the biggest diplomatic dispute between the 2 countries since World War II. Said European Affairs Minister. Blah 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 blah. They said a dramatic spat. Well, it turns out this has nothing to do with the yellow vests. Nothing at all. It has to do with France and their involvement in Africa. And this makes more sense. Yeah, when I heard this report, one of our producers sent it to me. I was like, wow. Of course we knew this, I guess, but maybe I didn't know it. Seems kind of stupid. What we do know is that the European Union, in particular France and Germany, they have deals with Africa. We've got the European African, what is it? It's some kind of one of these big compacts, one of these large agreements. And they have always felt that the EU cannot live without Africa and vice versa. It turns out it's really France. And when you hear this report, it's a head slapper.
In January, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Luigi Di Maio accused France of fueling the migrant crisis by controlling the economies of former African colonies through the local currency, the CFA.
France is one of those countries that by printing money for 14 African states prevents their economic development and contributes to the fact that the refugees leave and then die in the sea or arrive on our coasts.
So this is the dispute. Italy is saying, and this report continues, Italy is saying that because France really controls the economies of 14 different African countries, that it is because of their policy that is impoverishing these countries, and that's why the young men are getting on boats and dying in the seas off the coast of Italy, or a lot of them, of course, do make it. They're now in Lampedusa and the island in the south of Italy. And when you listen to the control France has over 14 countries, it's...
Well, let's do a little background on this. We have to remember there's a lot of French colonies in Africa in the old colonial days.
This is the background.
And most of Africa, if they have a second language from their own native tongue, is French.
Yeah.
They all speak French.
Well, this is the background of the financial part of the colonization, which we either didn't know, had forgotten, or is not taught.
The comment came days before the start of the presidential campaign in Senegal, and the CFA is now part of the debate, with each candidate taking positions on the matter. Some arguing for it, others against it, like Idrissa Seck, who asks why should white people in Paris take decisions on their currency? The Central African franc, or the CFA, has a fixed exchange rate with the euro, so Europeans can bring euros to Africa and easily swap them for the CFA. But state regulators make it difficult for Africans to take CFA out of their country and swap them into euros. Under an arrangement dating back more than 70 years, France's central bank controls the treasury of all 14 countries, leaving these nations with a limited supply of liquidity.
This guarantees a certain level of stability to the currency, allowing our giant to shop at her favorite French supermarket. Because French companies profit from this arrangement. It allows them easy access to a growing market of over 100 million people. But there's also growing resentment towards this currency, not just here in Senegal, but throughout Francophone West Africa.
France, get out. A graffiti found in various avenues of the capital. Sanya is behind the messaging.
We want a common currency, but for West African countries only, without France's involvement. Or why couldn't we have our own currency like Morocco and Algeria? They are doing much better than us.
France is so far. yet so close. While money travels more freely than people, Europe continues to attract young African men. For Jan's family, the journey is worth the risk.
So, because France is the literal Federal Reserve, the central bank, the printing press for these two African francs, they do in de facto control what's going on. So they can't inflate their currency, they can't deflate, they can't do anything.
Well, if they peg it to the euro, and then they peg it to the euro with one-way exchange, which is pretty pathetic.
That's my favorite part.
It seems to me that these countries can just. This country's moaning. I mean, it's like I'm a head of a country. I'm saying, well, why can't we be like Morocco and Algeria? Well, why don't you just become like Morocco and Algeria and cut yourself loose from this system?
Yeah, I think they all looked at Libya and Gaddafi's gold dinar idea.
Trying to do a euro dollar kind of, or I'm sorry, petrodollar scam with gold based.
Yes.
Which is a little more aggressive than just saying, hey, we're going to just print our own money.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you have Ebola in your country and you got troops. No, I think they understand it's not going that simple. Just stand up and say, no, we're not going to take it anymore. You know, the French are pretty aggressive when it comes to shooting stuff up in Africa.
Well,
I mean, the whole
Libya
thing. This is a piece
of information I had no knowledge of.
Right? And also what's interesting is that there's the CFA franc, the Central African franc, and then you have the West African franc.
And the two the CSA.
They don't. They do have two different currency codes. It's the XAF and the XOF. So XOF is for West African franc, the XAF for the Central, and those two are incompatible. So they're not even allowed to be exchanged against each other. With obvious reason, you can't have them be forming a whole block. This is a piece of global history. I'm woefully undereducated.
I wonder how the French profit from this. You don't do something like this.
Well, the report just said
somebody's currency No,
they can go in. They get to buy up all the beautiful stuff with their euros. It's easily interchangeable. They go in, they build up everything they want. There's a huge, I'm sure the trade deficit is crazy. So they can get everything they want for the prices. I mean, it seems like a typical bankster scheme.
Yeah, well, why are the Italians bent out of shape? Oh, it's because of all the dead bodies.
Yeah, because the dead bodies are floating up on their shores. I think they have a point there.
Yeah, it's
a point. So yeah, I kind of thought that was.
Well, I'm glad this has been brought to light.
Yes.
New information.
Yes, new shit has come to light, man. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we had I guess we were pretty much spot on with the national emergency declaration declared by the president.
I thought we weren't spot on.
Oh, I think we were.
Okay, explain how we were.
Okay, well, we knew that he was going to do something under U.S. Code USC 10 Code 284,
right?
Which he did, and he brought in another previously funded and pre-approved law. I'm just going to bring this up here, which was, hold on a second, 50 USC 1631. And then as the third part, he called for the national emergency. Oh, actually, that is the section 2808 of Title 10 U.S. Code. The first two do not require a national emergency to be enforced. The third one, I believe that's the 2808, does require the national emergency. And in his declaration, the president specifically states that he will be appropriating these funds in order. So it starts with the 1601, and then it goes to the 284, and that's about $5 billion together. So those are just existing laws. He didn't need any national emergency. And the third one, which will be challenged in the court, of course, that does require invocation of a national emergency. So the way I see what was done here is, let's call the national emergency, have everyone bitch and moan and take the whole thing to court. But that's really for the third piece. The first two go unchallenged and can start being used immediately.
Well,
so partially right.
I would think he would. I think the other approach would have been just to do the other without the national emergency, just push those two elements into play. But what you're saying
is it was a distraction.
What you're saying is the national emergency itself was the distraction, which will draw attention away from the fact that he's already got a bunch of money ready to go.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so that probably won't even be challenged. They'll all be looking at the national emergency. I did like how he positioned this. It was one of his best run-on, up-talking sentences ever.
The order is signed, and I'll sign the final papers as soon as I get into the Oval Office. And we will have a national emergency, and we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there. And we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court, just like the ban. They sued us in the Ninth Circuit, and we lost, and then we lost in the appellate division. And then we went to the Supreme Court, and we won. And it was very interesting because yesterday they were talking about the ban. Because we have a ban. It's very helpful, Madam Secretary. Is that right? Without the ban, we'd have a bigger problem. We have a ban on certain...
No, you get the idea. He knows exactly what's going to happen, and he doesn't care because it's for the last $3 billion, and he got an extra $1 billion. Through the legislation that came from the House and the Senate.
Yeah, well, that works out then.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty sly.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that everyone's
probably the only show that would point out this
gambit,
because they talked about it on PBS, and they did have the woman, that Elsindor woman, come on, and she showed the different monies and where they're coming from, but she never put two and two together like you just did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It takes, you got to be kind of dumb to get through this stuff. I think if you overthink everything like most of these jamokes do, that's when you get confused. Like, this was NPR with WAPO journalist Karen Tumulty. I'm not sure what her name is. And she's trying to explain even just how a national emergency is, it's not even defined properly. This is something that presidents just don't do. It's, we have standards and we have morals and we have traditions. And, well, listen.
Once again, we are reminded that the real checks on presidential power in our system have always been norms.
This is interesting to me. We have absolute checks and balances within our three branches of government, or the what would AOC call them? The three halls of Congress.
Something.
That's whatever she calls it. Of course, we have checks and balances, but she feels, this WAPO journalist, who would know, feels that it's only based on norms.
More than laws and even court decisions. And Donald Trump is no respecter of norms. So, yes, there are some checks built into the statute. If what the people who wrote it figured is, if there was enough political pressure, you might be able to stop the president because you could pass a resolution in one house that would be privileged in the other and that could block it. But, it does not appear that they would have the votes to override a presidential veto of that legislation. So again, I think the big lesson of the Trump presidency has been how much we have depended on norms to prevent presidential overreach. And this president, is no respecter of those.
Karen, just very briefly, remind us what you mean by norms. Give us an example or two of something that matters.
This is my favorite part. This is what the clip is about. Just remind us, what norms are you talking about? Now, it'll take about 30 seconds to say nothing.
That is not being respected or that's being cast aside.
Well, you look at it's on in every level of policy. I mean, you even look at the fact that this country built most of kind of the international systems, the alliances that we have, but we see the president going out and talking about pulling out of treaties and getting out of NATO.
Where are the norms, lady?
And just anywhere he sees them. I mean, he
sees them and he just the norms.
He looks at presidential power, I think, in a way that we have never seen, at least in our lifetimes, a president who looks at them that way.
Isn't that great? She does this whole thing about the norms and the checks and balances, and then she can't give one example.
No, because she's an idiot.
Yeah, WAPO. Now, in case anyone's interested, I'm sure this has been done in the mainstream. If you really want to know what national emergencies have been called, I saw one. I didn't clip it. I saw one news program was showing previous national emergencies. They show Bush with Iran-Contra. I'm not quite sure what they showed for Clinton. Then they showed 9/11 for Bush too, and then Obama swine flu. It's like that's the only
swine flu was declared a national emergency by Obama.
That's what let me see. We'll take a look.
I don't believe that.
Well, let's work backwards. June 26, 2008, continuing certain restrictions with respect to North Korea. So that was a national emergency. It's still in effect. Lebanon in 2007, still in effect. Blocking property of certain persons. The Democratic Republic of Congo, which is still in effect. Côte d'Ivoire, which was terminated in 2016. Liberia, which was revoked. It actually is all stuff for foreign countries. In 2004, prohibiting export of certain goods to Syria, still in effect.
This is kind of foreign country related. Mexico.
Yes, but we don't border on Syria. Iraq, certain other property in Iraq.
Mexico, since we're bordering on them, would be more of a national emergency than Syria.
Well, yes, but Orange Man bad.
Well, we've heard nothing but bullcrap about this being a horrible overreach. And let me play this clip. This is David Brooks, and this is on the PBS NewsHour where they bring him and Shields, the old droopy dog-looking guy. And they put the two of them on, and they're supposed to be two perspectives, and it's always one perspective. It's the same hate Trump perspective, which is hurting the show. They need to have somebody, when they ask somebody, why did Trump do this? I want to hear somebody that can explain it the way you just did, or the way somebody who maybe thinks Trump is not a horrible orange man explain things to give us a balanced, a kind of a balanced look at things, so we have a balance, one guy that's pro and one guy's against. That's the way it should be, not two guys who are against.
Well, and let's just make this very clear. We do not expect this from cable news. We do expect it from the public broadcast system, from PBS.
Yeah, and they give us nothing.
Start, David, with...
Anyway, so this is Brooks. They're asking him about this, and just listen to this response. This is giving us no balance whatsoever.
The president's announcement today that he didn't get enough money to beef up the border as he wanted, and therefore he's declaring a national emergency so that he can spend up to $8 billion on it.
Yeah, well, this is awful. I don't think it has anything to do with any invasion, as he claimed. I think he lost the government shutdown, so he's giving himself a performance trophy so he can say, I'm a winner. I think it's more about his psyche than anything actually in the country. And it is a complete violation of any constitutional position that any liberal or any conservative should believe in. The Constitution clearly states that allocations and appropriations are the job of Congress.
Oh, God. I love all these constitutional scholars who really don't know what. Oh, here it is. Obama, 2009. National emergency with respect to the 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic, which was never terminated, by the way. And I actually was reading Bush's stuff. Obama has some really good ones. So that was the first, was the swine flu. Then it was Somalia, Libya. And here's the one that Trump is using: blocking property of transnational crime organizations, and that has been continued. Then we go to Yemen. Then we go to, interesting, 2012, blocking property of the government of the Russian Federation relating to the disposition of highly enriched uranium extracted from nuclear weapons, which was revoked in 2015, just in time for them to do that Iranian 1 deal. Then we have Ukraine. Then we got South Sudan. Then we got Central African Republic. I don't remember that one. Then we have Venezuela, which started 2015, blocking property and suspending entry of certain persons contributing to the situation in Venezuela. And 2015, blocking the property of certain persons engaging in significant malicious cyber-enabled activities. And the last one he did was Burundi. So, this has been used a lot. It's just never for Mexico, apparently. Or at least not specifically, and it still isn't used specifically for that. It's for the transnational crime, for drugs and human trafficking, and that's it's a big distraction. Everyone's running around. See, what is this? This might be Fox. Let me see what they were saying.
Either need to talk about the Constitution or not talk about the Constitution.
But the Constitution provides that Congress can legislate on these types of issues, and they have issued in 1976 the National Emergencies Act. There is nothing in that act that would say that these two, signing this bill as well as declaring a National Emergency Act, and let me remind you that the president has declared the national emergency under current law before he is signing the new bill. So ex post facto in the Constitution would dictate this national emergency was declared under previous law, not the new bill. He could.
Well, that was pretty good, actually. That might have been Fox Business. Yeah. MSNBC, there was Jim Acosta, and it was actually kind of sad. I didn't clip it, it made me sad. He had the angel moms and angel families, which I have to say, I find this use of gold stars and angels for parents of children who have died, either serving in our military or for any other reason, it irks me. I can't really put my finger on it, but you're a gold star mom. No, you're sad. The whole thing is sad, but then they get a labeled gold star. Next we'll have diamond moms. I don't know, what else are we going to have for the next group of people whose children are die? Anyway. So he had those parents there, and then Jim Acosta standing up and saying, "Well, crime is down, and as you know," and there was that old one where people who are born here commit more crime than illegal immigrants.
Yeah, a bunch of criminals.
And then
thanks for the insult, Jim.
And Trump says, "Hey, why don't you moms stand up? Look at him." It was really uncomfortable. It felt on one hand it felt abusive. On the other hand, yes, go there and show what happened to you. And I guess what the president should have said is, if it was your kid, Acosta, how much is that worth? 1 billion, 5 billion, 8 billion? Would you care if it was your kid? But the president never does that.
Well, the president doesn't do. I mean, the president could do that. That's kind of not what his style is.
Well, having these moms stand up is.
Well, I know that's pathetic too, but I think the better way he could have done this whole thing, and he should have been doing it this way the whole time. I don't get why he hasn't, why he's got advisors. That we talked about it before. Pull up those old clips of Nancy and Feinstein and everybody in between going on and on and on in the past about how we need a wall. And do what Ross Perot used to do, show examples.
Right, but in this case, when you're declaring the emergency, that has no bearing on the emergency.
No, now I'm saying this should have been done months
much
ago.
Earlier. Anyway, MSNBC, and this is a clip to keep, an evergreen, they did confirm the actual statistic of crime of illegal immigrants versus citizens.
And Julia, before we let you go here, as you and I were listening to this, you report on the Department of Homeland Security. There's nobody perhaps at our network who knows some of these facts and stats better than you. There was a striking moment during that news conference when the president got into a back and forth with a reporter about whether or not he believed his own administration's statistics when it came to issues of immigration. And you've been listening.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of these statistics right here. So let's just look at what the reality is there. It is true that more crimes are committed by non-U.S. citizens citizens than by U.S. citizens. That data was all taken out of Texas. That's one of the only states that actually breaks it down between immigrants and non-immigrants. But that is a fact based on that.
Oh, okay. How inconvenient.
Well, that doesn't fit in with everything everyone's saying.
How inconvenient. Thanks, MSNBC. We always appreciate your fact-checking.
Well, let's listen to how Democracy Now! Covers this thing. Because they hate it, of course. And I got a clip, 2 clips, but the one started with this rundown of Thursday budget vote.
Both the House and Senate passed the measure Thursday that came out of the bipartisan conference committee earlier this week. The bill includes nearly $1.4 billion to build 55 miles of new border barriers out of steel, far less than the $5.7 billion requested by President Trump. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell took to the Senate floor Thursday to announce President Trump's decision to sign the spending bill. As some had speculated and many Democrats feared, McConnell confirmed Trump's plan to declare a national emergency in an attempt to circumvent Congress for his $5.7 billion in border wall funding.
I've just had an opportunity to speak with President Trump, and he, I would say to all my colleagues, has indicated he's prepared to sign the bill. He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time. And I've indicated to him that I'm going to support the national emergency declaration. So for all of my colleagues, the president will sign the bill. We'll be voting on it shortly.
McConnell's vow of support.
What happened to her? Did she choke?
She choked right there. You heard it.
Yeah.
We'll sign the bill. We'll be voting on it shortly.
McConnell's vow of support came despite reports that he warned Trump against the move, saying it could split the Republican Party and prompt a resolution disapproving the emergency declaration. Democrats quickly condemned the news. This is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Did I ever say I was filing a legal challenge?
You said Democrats.
I may. That's an option, and we'll review our options. But it's important to note that when the president declares this emergency, first of all, it's not an emergency. What's happening at the border? It's a humanitarian challenge to us. The president has tried to sell a bill of goods to America. But putting that aside, just in terms of the president making an end run around Congress.
Trump is set to speak this morning at 10 a.m. if he declares a national emergency. The consumer rights nonprofit Public Citizen has vowed legal action against him, saying the move, quote, will constitute an outrageous abuse of power, perhaps the most dangerous yet by the unstable and increasingly autocratic President Trump.
Most
unquote.
Dangerous yet.
Yeah. So they have this guy come on who runs this operation, the public, whatever it's called. And I just think he tries to coin a new way of describing the wall. And this is part 2. This is kind of interesting. See if you can catch this.
So explain what this national emergency resolution would do.
Well, we don't know, and we're not going to know until the president acts. But it seems as what he's going to claim is that there is a national emergency at the border, and that therefore he can move money around that has not been appropriated for the purposes of building the racist wall to, in fact, build the racist wall. There is a legal structure in place for how to declare an emergency, and the president does have authority under other laws to move money around if, in fact, there is a national emergency. So we're going to sue, again, based on what he does, but challenging the idea that there's an emergency and also challenging whether the way he's moving the money is legal under the statutes that exist. But the real big issue is going to be whether people turn out in droves to protest this and say, not only do we not want a wall, but we don't want the president declaring emergencies to get around the will of Congress. If this president is able to declare an emergency to build a wall around a fictitious claim of urgency against the express interests of the intent of Congress, there's really no limit to what he might do in the future with an emergency declaration.
So if you're white and you climb the wall, it's okay because the wall is on your side.
Yeah, it's a racist wall.
Racist wall.
He should have stuck with that moniker because he dropped it a couple of times.
3
just
times.
Plain wall. That's different.
You know what Nancy Pelosi has done, and because she's trying to follow with this meme of somehow, hey, we're number 1 in the Constitution. It's all about us first, and only we can appropriate the money. And she sent around a spreadsheet with about 400 different entries of pieces of money that will now no longer go to Of course, funding our men and women who fight so bravely for us. Like some maintenance issue for the F-35, which I don't think is in full service. It's like some of that's being used. And, so they're trying to, this is not a winning strategy. I don't think people care about it this way. Like, oh, well, it was supposed to go to one screw in the Joint Strike Fighter. So I think she just gave it up and lost. Let it go.
Well, I have one last clip which segues into something else, unless you want to talk more about this.
I have one funny clip from Menendez.
Oh, well, let's play that.
Yes, Senator Bob Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey. He seemed to, when this came down and he was being interviewed, he just went off his rocker.
The deputy director of ICE says a cap on beds, in his words, would be, quote, extremely damaging to the public safety of this country. How do you respond?
The reason that they are already 8,000 over their budgeted amount, so they're violating the budget, is because of the president's zero tolerance policy that has turned everyone, regardless of their record, into a criminal. For example, if you cross the border undocumented, he has now made you a criminal. He is creating that problem by turning people away who legitimately seek asylum. If a person has a driving while under the influence violation, he is now making that, saying that that's a criminal. What we have seen...
And that's just outrageous. These are not the norms that we stand for.
In the past, under, for example, President Obama...
Yeah, he's saying... if you get
DUI is not a criminal? Is that what he says?
He's saying if you're illegally here and you get caught while driving under the influence, now you're a criminal. He's making you a criminal.
Orange man bad.
What am I gonna do? Yeah, that's what he's saying. I know. It's jaw dropping.
CNN. What can you do? What are you gonna do?
CNN. This is a senator. This is senator from New Jersey.
Well.
All
right. So I have I got a thing I want to segue into something, which is a little educational. We do this on the show once in a while, and I thought that would be a good time to do this because it crops up on a PBS report about the wall with the Alcindor woman, the one who just replaced Eiffel, although she doesn't have the chops.
Her name is Alcindor? That's her name?
Yeah, something. Yeah, Mish.
Because it almost sounds like a think tank when you say the Alcindor woman. I'm like, what think tank is that? That's her name. Okay, got it.
So this is you can play this Wall Money Acts PBS.
Okay.
I could do the wall over a longer period of time. I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster. We had certain funds that are being used at the discretion of generals, at the discretion of the military. Some of them haven't been allocated yet, and some of the generals think that this is more important. I was speaking to a couple of them. They think this is far more important than what they were going to use it for. I said, what were you going to use it for? And I won't go into details, but didn't sound too important to me.
So, Yamiche, hearing that, where exactly is the president pulling this money from?
Well, the president is saying that I know best how to use these military funds to keep Americans safe. So I want to walk you through where he's getting the $8 billion that he's going to initially be using to fund a wall on the southern border. He's going to be getting $1.375 billion from the congressional deal that Congress passed this week to avert a government shutdown. He's going to be getting $600 million from the Department of Treasury Forfeiture Fund. That's money that it's gotten from seized and forfeited assets. He's also going to be getting $2.5 billion from the Department of Defense counter drug activities. That's drug seizer money. He's also going to be using $3.6 billion from military construction money, and that's defense fund money. That's also from the Department of Defense. And all of this is to fund an initial 234 miles of wall on the southern border. The White House stressed today that this is just the beginning. They could ask for more money.
Axe? She said
axe?
She said they could ask for more money.
Yeah, wow. I have the ISO of it. If you want to hear it again, just make sure.
Yeah. Could ask for more money.
Oh, jeez. You know, I heard Jordan Peterson the other day say, "Anyways." That's a professor. Now, okay,
well,
Scandinavian.
I got onto
but
this axe thing, but it caught my attention because of what she said earlier. So it perked me up when she said gotten
axe.
So, I mean, she's very unprofessional at this level of broadcasting. I'm just going to put it I mean, nobody wants to say anything about the woman because she's, black, but she's unprofessional, and she also is involved with all kinds of political stuff. She's given speeches at a lot of rallies and things like that. She shouldn't be out there like that at all. But to give her the benefit of the doubt on acts, which I think is not a broadcast. Broadcasters should accept the use of that word that way, but it's legit.
What?
Now I have a long thing. This is 3 minutes, but it's very educational. This is the NPR lecture on acts versus ask.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on a second. So several years ago, we started identifying this popping up amongst white millennials. And it came from urban America. Let me ask you something. Yo, bro, let me ask you something. Mainly black, but it traveled all over. But I would say really mainly urban.
Urban blacks.
And, and of course that carried on to, people in the mainstream like Jay-Z and a lot of the hip hoppers all say axe, and you hear it in award shows and you see it on television. And now you're going to tell me, I guess it's okay.
Well, no, wait. I'm not going to say it's okay, and I don't think it's okay in the broadcast sense. That's for sure. It should not be on a news show. But, in fact, it's okay.
About the word ask. It's not uncommon to hear that word pronounced axe. To many, that's a mispronunciation. But
can I just guess? Can I just guess? I'm going to guess.
I don't know what you're guessing.
Well, I'm going to guess what this clip is about. Could this clip be about the sad fact that many people are dyslexic and go untreated?
No, you're wrong.
But as NPR's Shireen Marisol Meraji reports, axe is as old as English itself.
Axe has gotten a bad rap. If you say axe, it's often assumed you're poor, you're black, you're uneducated. New York City's first African-American schools chancellor put the word on his list of speech demons to be eradicated.
It's the most noticeable term in African-Americanisms.
That's Gerard McClendon, education professor and the author of
Axe or Ask, the African-American Guide to Better English.
McClendon says his parents taught him there's a time and a place to use axe because they were well aware of its stigma.
When you're with your little friends, you can speak any way you want to speak, all right? But the minute you get in a spelling bee or in a job interview, switch it up quick. I've taught my children to do that as well.
If it happens 4 times in a sentence, probably going to get 2 axes, 2 asks.
Sketch comedy duo Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele joke that because they're mixed race, they're constantly switching back and forth from axe to ask.
Yeah, when a cop comes up to you, you definitely throw out asks.
If you got 4 asks in that sentence, then you're going to go 4 and on
ask
the
away,
asks.
officer. Ask away.
Whatever you want to ask me, I'm more than happy to answer, officer.
Is that the only question you wanted to ask us?
I'm Jesse Scheidlauer. I'm the president of the American Dialect Society. I believe I'm here to talk about the historical pronunciation of axe for ask.
Scheidlauer says axe has been used since the 8th century and derives from the Old English verb axion.
The people who use the axe pronunciation are using the pronunciation that has been handed down in an unbroken form for 1,000 years. It is not a new thing. It is not a mistake. It is a regular feature of English.
Chaucer used axe. It's in the first complete English translation of the Bible, the Coverdale Bible.
Axe, and it shall be given. So at that point, it wasn't a mark of people who weren't highly educated or people who were in the working class.
That's Stanford linguist John Rickford. Rickford says it's hard to pinpoint why axe stopped being popular but stayed put in the American South and the Caribbean, where he's originally from.
Over time, it became a kind of marker of identity.
Indians in South Africa use axe. Black Caribbeans use axe. African Americans use axe. Rickford says it's the empire striking back, taking language that has been imposed and making it your own.
I don't think any linguist at least is advocating that you get rid of your vernacular because you need it, in a sense, for your soul.
Rickford says there's nothing technically wrong with axe, but he adds linguistic versatility is ideal, interchanging axe and ask depending on the setting, code switching. He says few know about axe's Chaucerian roots, so take Key and Peele's advice when getting pulled over.
Go 4 and on
ask away, officer. Ask away.
Whatever you want to ask me, I'm more than happy to answer, officer.
Shireen Marisol Meraji, NPR News.
Well, this is interesting.
Yes, the black urban experience apparently is Chaucerian.
Chaucerian?
From Chaucer. That's where he used the axe all the time.
Well, so what this does is it says that old uses of words are
ye old
use of words are can be considered valid.
Yeah.
So if I can say, "Hey, that's gay," then that would be okay because I just mean it's happy and funny and etc.
If it was happy and funny.
Yeah, if it was happy and funny. I don't know about this, man. And by the way, so this is an interesting example because while you may have a black driver say, "Ask away, officer," and then maybe accidentally say anything else you want to ax, the white driver would say, yes, anything you want, Ossifer. See, they have their own issues. Ossifer. White guys say Ossifer when they...
probably Chaucerian too.
Yes. Well, this brings me to the islands, since it came up. And by the way, that was good, John. I'm still going to say ask if you don't mind, and I will still chastise anyone for saying axe.
That's reasonable.
I don't think it's certainly in broadcast. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's the woke way. We had this clip of April Ryan and Don Lemon arguing about the blackness of Kamala Harris. It's back to Kamala, I guess.
Oh, Kamala.
About
you say Kamala, I say Kamala.
Now, as you know, I've stated it's fine. She's brown, she's black, whatever, but she's not African American because although she was born here, she was raised in Ottawa. Her father is from Jamaica. Her mother is from India. She's a Tamil. So, she really does not have African American blood in her. And Don Lemon takes my side of the argument, oddly enough. April Ryan trips out about it and starts to bring in all kinds of stuff about Jamaican slavery. A review of that clip.
Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed
Jamaica's
be
not America.
African American mixed with other races. But
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was
Jamaica
born
did not
here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go into Ted Cruz.
Now, I got a note from Sir Johnny B. who says, excuse me, the history of slavery and oppression is just as long in Jamaica and bloody as it is in the U.S. After the populace rose up and claimed independence, the people are kept down by leaders who are in bed with the economic hitmen. F. Don Lemon, hardship is right on the flag in Jamaica. Gold recalls the shining sun, black reflects hardships, and green represents the land. The flag colors are gold, green, and black. The Rastafarian flag adds red for the bloodshed. This guy is an ignorant a-hole. And while that's true, it wasn't really on topic until I received this just this morning. It is a chapter, and it may be may just be an essay. I don't know if I think it's from a book. The title of the book is Reflections of a Jamaican Father. Does this remind you of anything?
Yeah, it sounds like Obama's book.
Yes. Reflections of a Jamaican Father by Donald J. Harris. This is Kamala's dad. Now, if we were on a mainstream news program, this might actually be some pretty big news what I'm going to read to you. Do not expect to hear this anywhere but here. I will read only 2 paragraphs. As a child growing up in Jamaica, I often heard it said by my parents and family and friends, "'Member where you come from." To this day, I continue to retain the deep social awareness and strong sense of identity which that grassroots Jamaican philosophy fed in me. As a father, I naturally sought to develop the same sensibilities in my 2 daughters. Born and bred in America, Kamala was the first in line to have it planted. Maya came 2 years later and had the advantage of an older sibling as a mentor. It is for them to say truthfully now, not me, what if anything of value they carried from that early experience into adulthood. My one big regret is that they did not come to know very well the 2 most influential women in my life, Miss Crishy and Miss Iris. My roots, you see, go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Crishy, née Christiana Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, who was on record as a plantation and slave owner and founder of Brownstown. her great-grandmother was a slave owner.
What?
Kamala Harris's great-grandmother was a slave owner and plantation owner in Jamaica and the founder of Brownstown. Her roots are slave holders.
This is good. I'd give you a clip of the day.
There's no clip, baby. There's no clip. How fantastic is this?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there's even a picture of her, and there's a picture of her with her grandma, Kamala, with Grandma Iris.
Well, they should be rousting Kamala from Hamilton if she ever shows up for a presentation. Get out!
Hey, it's in the show notes. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I should make sure I don't have that. Oh, yeah, I got to change one thing there. I don't want the email address exposed where I got it from, obviously. But, yeah, there you go. Kamala Harris, great-granddaughter of slave owners in Jamaica.
Well, that kind of summarize. That'll come up.
It will not. $1 bet right now. This will not become a thing. No one will ever hear about it after this mention.
I'll make that a $10 bet.
That's a little beyond my means. We're trying to buy a house. Let's do $5. I can go $5.
New $1 bill though.
Don't you owe me one still that you were going to send me, Chris? $1 bill.
Yeah. Well, it's in advance now. Okay. Not the second best.
All right. There you go. That was my big reveal for the day.
That was good. That was very funny.
It's not funny. It's just great.
Yeah. It's funny too.
Because we'll see how it. I mean, some of these people out there, man, they're like I don't know how well you can hear this. This is Elizabeth Warren, who is so tone deaf and colorblind to her situation that she doesn't even have an answer ready for a heckler. You know, when you're doing a stump speech and you're running for the president,
there's stock responses you're supposed to use.
You know, if someone's like, "Hey, why'd you lie about being a Cherokee?" You should have an answer. She doesn't. She thinks that everyone's vetted that come to these rallies, and Well, here's one example. I don't know how well you can hear it, but you'll get the general idea.
I thought what we do today. I'm just so glad you're here. I thought what we do today is that.
What a school teacher! I thought what we did today.
I thought what we do today. I'm just so glad you're here. I thought what we do today.
Good point.
Is that I talk a little bit, just kind of introduce myself, who I am, a little bit of my story. We'll make this happen.
So why'd you lie? It keeps yelling. Of course, people surround the guy right away, but then she keeps going.
And then we're there. Hold on. We'll get to lots of policy. I absolutely promise. Okay, be easy.
Be easy.
And then what we'll talk about is we'll do policy and we'll do as many questions as we possibly can. So
it's like talking to a group of kindergartners on career day.
No, I think you nailed it. I've always wondered what is wrong with this woman. She talks as if she's a school teacher introducing herself to a new class of fourth graders or fifth graders.
Yeah. And then when they get uppity, she goes, "Be easy." Be easy. It's take it easy, Liz. Be easy. Jeez.
No, she's very much like a school marm.
Yeah. Now we'll have lots of questions later, class.
We're putting together my handicap list. And, she's on the A list, but she's not. Can you
even use the term handicap for anything? Shouldn't it be?
You can't for horses. You can't for any betting phenomenon.
Well, it's one of those words, man.
Yeah, I'm not. No.
We possibly can. So I appreciate that you're here. What I wanted to start with today is to tell you.
Just yelling in the background.
It's okay. We're good.
It's okay. And notice it's we.
How about she say, "Get that idiot out of here"?
No, that would be too much like Trump. That would be wrong. We have norms in this country.
Norm.
We have Norm.
Norm sitting at the bar.
Yeah, we got Norms in this country. Yeah. And no other gaffes that I found from any other people.
Well, I've got the one clip that I wanted to get out of the way, which is, do you know what's going on in Haiti right now? It's not being much reported.
Yeah, of course I've been following it, and even producers who track Haiti for us also have been kind of coming up empty-handed, other than the main question, what happened to the hundreds of millions of dollars the Clintons raised, all the good stuff they did, all the people they put into government, the baseball making factory, the basket weaving factory, the new Clinton hotel and resort. What happened to all of that?
Well, apparently they've come up with a scheme to marginalize those numbers, because it seems as if Venezuela is now the bad guy. And they owe them $3 billion.
For more than a week, the island nation of Haiti has been rocked by street violence as protesters, angry over soaring inflation and government corruption, have demanded the ouster of President Jovenel Moise. Demonstrators have been blocking roads, stoning emergency vehicles, and destroying businesses. The U.S. State Department has raised the travel warning to the country, advising citizens not to travel there, and is asking all non-emergency U.S. personnel and their families to leave. Jacqueline Charles is the Caribbean correspondent for the Miami Herald, and she joins us now from Miami. Explain a little bit more about what these protests are about.
Well, these protests are basically about two issues: corruption and the economic turmoil that is hitting Haiti currently. Let's start with the issue of corruption. Haitians today are saying that they are fed up with decades of government corruption, and they are particularly pointing to a program that was financed by Venezuela. It was a discount oil program called Petrocaribe, in which Haiti received oil at a discount price from Venezuela. They didn't have to pay it back until over 25 years, and they received it at a 1% interest rates. But that savings was supposed to be used for social programs to ameliorate the situation of the population in terms of health care, child care, education, you name it. That was the feeling. Housing after the earthquake. Well, almost 10 years after that earthquake, Haitians say they do not see where that money has been spent. And today, the country owes Venezuela almost $2 billion. And so for months, we have seen Haitians on social media and in the country demanding to know, where is the money? Where is the Petrocaribe money? The inflation rate is 15%. The government's deficit is $89.6 million. And their local currency, the good, is in a free fall against a strong U.S. dollar. So today what we've seen is that for days now, over a week, they have had this country on lockdown. No schools, no businesses, nothing is moving. And so where is this going? What's going to happen next? That's what's uncertain, unclear at this moment.
It almost feels like, hey, let's get rid of all the crap while we can. It's like if anyone uncovers, hey, Hill, yeah, Bill, if anyone really finds out what went on in Haiti and what we really did there, it's going to be bad. So maybe we should, this Venezuela thing, can we blame something on Venezuela?
I get the same sense, but that it's like an economic hitman thing, where somebody has schemed this whole thing, because I never heard any of this. And the next thing you know, and now apparently the second half of this report is only a little bit of the whole thing. And this guy who does the Saturday PBS NewsHour, Harry Srinivasan, is really the best guy they have. And they pushed him out of the regular weekly show so they could have pretty much a bunch of amateurs in there. And this guy's really a very, very professional character. And I like his Saturday show a lot better than during the week. It's only a half an hour, too. The news hour is a half hour. And he does much more in-depth stuff, and he just comes up with things I've never heard of. But they go on with this, and they have some people from this, that live there saying, I can't even get out of my house. I'm just afraid I'm going to get shot.
Who's implicated in some of this corruption? Is the president now on the hook for some of the corruption that happened, perhaps even in the administration before him?
Well, yes, this president here, he was brought into power under the banner of PHTK. That is the party of former President Michel Martelly, and his party is very well implicated in this corruption, as well as people who are among the advisors to the president, even the president's former chief of staff. The president himself has been named in a report, an initial report that was issued by the government auditors in terms of his company having received some of this funding from Venezuela. But I have to tell you, there are real frustrations and real anger in Haiti, especially by the young people. And when I say young, I'm talking about individuals in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who today see no hope, they see no way out. They increasingly not believing in the ballot box. And so there's a huge apathy when it comes to elections. And so you've seen this, that even the woman on the street that's selling charcoal, every time something goes wrong, she's saying, you know what, it's because of Petrocaribe. But the unfortunate reality is today that prices have gone up. There is a brewing humanitarian crisis. Hospitals are not having the supplies that they need. And once this is all over, the question is, even if President Jovenel Moïse doesn't leave, will he be able to govern? And if he does go, what is the plan of the opposition? We have not heard anything from them in terms of how they are going to alleviate the fundamental issue, which is the economic crisis that the Haitian population is enduring right now.
So it's almost a replay. If you recall, Haiti had a very odd earthquake, which only really affected Haiti, nothing attached to Haiti. It was very shallow, and immediately the Clintons were in there everywhere, building stuff, bringing in their buddies with cellular networks for micropayments, creating this whole deep water port for cruise ships. It's almost like a replay. It's like, oh, we got all kinds of stuff going on. It's going to be horrible. We come in, we start to fix it. Here's a clip from 2015. It's one of the more recent ones we have about the Clinton Foundation and Haiti.
More than $10 billion was donated internationally to help rebuild Haiti, but much of that money is gone.
Oh, maybe this is the problem.
Only 900 homes were built. And they were not even built in the vicinity, in the area of Port-au-Prince where the earthquake took place. They were built in the northern part of the country. So much inconsistency, so much irregularity. As I'm talking to you right now, there are 100,000 people in tents in Port-au-Prince.
But in Harlem, people raised their voices to call attention to the missing money. This protest outside of the offices of the Clinton Foundation, which helped lead the Reconstruction Fund.
These people, they are still in very difficult conditions, still living under tents, while Bill Clinton and his cronies, they waste this money.
The foundation says progress is being made, particularly in Haiti's economic and tourist industries. But many Haitian Americans say contracts were awarded to non-Haitian companies. The capital's main hospital is still not fixed, and cholera is on the rise.
The threat of the expansion of cholera is something that people live with on a daily basis.
The suffering in Haiti continuing to dominate the conversation 5 years later.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do this week before Thursday? I'm gonna get together because we have this used to be my beat. We studied Haiti very intently, and it was years before the mainstream really did anything about it at all. It's like earthquake, bad, move on. And we had, remember when sweet Mickey Martelly come in, which was the Clinton stooge, and then he got kicked out, and they kept trying to bring other people in to become president. And there was $10 billion raised, which clearly did not go into the economy.
No, it disappeared, like they said in that report in 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I really don't know much else other than it sounds exactly just like a repeat of what was going on then.
Well, it's actually, if you look at the videos, it looks a lot worse.
It does. Well, I promised to have some older clips, so maybe we can start piecing this together by Thursday. But now, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in cholera, John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships and sea boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water. Davis nice in there.
And in the morning to the Troll Room, noagendastream.com. That's where the trolls love to hang out on Thursdays and Sundays, and they are very helpful. I suggest you go by even early before the show starts. There's always something fun going on with our pre-streams, people spinning tunes. It's good. That's noagendastream.com. And if you're a troll, you'll feel right at home. Also, in the morning to Darren O'Neill, who did a pre-stream this morning in the Troll Room. He brought us the artwork for episode 1112. We titled that El Valvador, with a V for Valvador and Valentine Day. And it was just kind of a nice Valentine Day image. I heart no agenda, as in the old I Heart New York logo. And it had something pretty about it that we enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we
just hit the spot.
It did. And we thank Darren O'Neill and all of the artists who diligently upload their wares as a part of our Value for Value network to help us with the show, because whenever you have new album artwork and it shows up in the podcast apps and then the podcast store and wherever else you see podcasts, it's noticeable and we appreciate it. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you again, Darren O'Neill.
All right, starting with, we have a few people to thank as executive producers and associate executive producers. And let's start with, looks like Ken Frosto in Tahunga, California. It's one of the great towns named in Southern California. 333.34. First-time donor, please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
No jingles, no karma. Please call out Alex and Ivan as douchebags. Douchebag. There's two of them. Douchebag. Step up, bros. Been listening for years, and the show has only gotten better. Please do a random assortment. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You can't say NJNK
and then say random assortment.
For a random assortment of Sharpton.
Also, honestly, I don't really like you choose something, because if I had to choose, I'd choose nothing. I'd like to move on and thank the next person. If you have a reason for it, it's great. Don't you think?
I think we should make a new rule.
Uh-oh, new rule, ladies and gentlemen. New rule coming down the pipe.
We don't pick them anymore. We pick them throughout the show. I mean, if you want a jingle, be specific, and we'll play it.
Yes.
It's also more challenging.
So, even though he said NJNK, I will give him some respect. Oops, respect.
RESPICT.
There you go. Respect for you, sir.
Corey Ainsworth in Edgerton, Wisconsin. 333.33. This is my first donation. I've been a listener for 6 months since Unfiltered ended. I know an unfiltered guy. Good. Mm-hmm. This show which was the competitor to this show.
I wouldn't say competitor.
I think it was, except the way it was done. It was different. It was not
competitor. They used our clips. They used our bell. They used our jingles. They used a lot of our format. It wasn't a competitor. It was
it's a competitor.
Flattery. It was flattery.
It was the way it compared the way Henry's Hamburgers was to McDonald's.
And we're McDonald's now in that case?
Yeah.
I don't know if I like your analogy.
I don't know. I take the money and run. This show has become invaluable in my life, so my tax return is helping me give back.
All right.
Is that a bird going off that I'm hearing?
I don't hear anything.
Oh. You have helped my sanity in this super polarized, always political culture. Additionally, the crackpot theories. Oh, it's birds outside my window. Additionally, the crackpot theories push me to do my own research on topics like global warming, sonic weapons, OTG lifestyles, and even the moon landing. Jeez. I recently read Dr. Ted's book and Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Good. Those are two good books to read. With those insights, I'm interested in what comes of the yellow vests and the Ebola in DRC. Thank you for all you provide. He does need a de-douching, obviously.
You've been de-douched.
And he needs jobs karma, and dogs are people too.
Okay. And I don't really have an answer for you on this question. What comes of the yellow vests and the Ebola in the DRC? But that's what we do. We track that stuff for you.
Dogs are people too.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
I don't think he was asking you anything. He was just making a rhetorical comment that he is interested in what happens.
Right. And I was just saying I don't have any answers.
Yeah, but he wasn't asking.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for stepping out of bounds. And by the way,
I know, but it sounds like you were lamenting the fact that you couldn't answer his questions.
No, he asked me a question. I thought he asked a question.
Oh, yeah, you thought he asked
a question. No.
Gretchen Wittig, 333. We should use axe. ITM gents, please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
Yes, it was the same thing on the last show.
Yeah, I noticed. It's been way too long since I've donated. Please slam my buddy Paul. I'm getting a lot of this, too. Please slam my buddy Paul Wilson as a douchebag. Douchebag. You know you are, he says. My plan is, it's Gretchen saying this, by the way. It's even worse when a woman calls you out. My plan, I'm going to get... Really?
I mean, hello?
I know. I'm
misogynist
old
much?
Days.
Yeah, old.
Well, there was a number of studies. What the heck? The coastal just went by going the other way. This is like 3 hours late. Anyway, it's been too long since I've donated. Please send my buddy Paul. My plan is to be a dame by the 3-2 meetup in Austin, and I challenge you. Oh, by the way, the meetup in Des Moines location has been changed again.
Again? It's no longer at the hall? It's now moved again?
No, I think it's at the hall.
The hall, okay.
That was a change from the last time.
Yeah, noagendameetups.com is where the accurate information can be found.
Yeah, and apparently the guy in Des Moines keeps changing his mind on where he wants to do the thing.
I thought Mimi was in charge and told him what to do.
She's not there. She's, the guy's roaming around town saying, I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is she's irked about it.
I love that. An irked Mimi is a thing to beware of.
3-2 the 3-2 meetup in Austin. I challenge you to beat me to it, Paul. Huh. I recently met a fellow listener, John, on a plane to Memphis. It says plan, but I'm going to say plane. And I'm going to go ahead and call him out as a douchebag. Douchebag. Some random guy.
Douchebag. Now, here's what happened. It's like I met another guy on a plane to Memphis, and hey, that guy didn't donate either, even though he listened. So douchebag. That makes sense. The name would have been funnier.
Anyway, hope to see you both at the meetup. For jingles, I'd like to hear about John's ants. Love you, mean it, Gretchen.
All right, Gretchen, thank you very much for your support.
I got ants.
You've got karma.
Sabode Peth, or Pethy, in Metairie, Louisiana, 218. He'll be our first associate executive producer. Jingle request: Obama, no, and little girl, yay, don't eat me. Oh no, little girl yelling, don't eat me. AOC.
Interesting.
I tried watching CNN, Fox, etc. one evening, and I could not stomach it. That's why Adam watches it for you. I can't stomach it either. I think I should leave it to the NAEMDs, expert media deconstructionists. Look forward to the meetup in Austin.
Yes, Sabode. It's going to be a great meetup. I'm very excited about it.
Okay, you know what? No. What? Listen, you're in my house, drinking the booze. No.
Please don't eat me, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
You've got karma.
An oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, well, it works. Now we've got Hernandez here, and I'm looking at the email. Jacob Hernandez in Kennewick, Washington, 218. I see no email from Hernandez regarding this donation. So if you have something, and I do have a couple make goods to read in the second readings.
Okay.
Alexander, it's 218 from Kennewick, Washington. Alexander Sulzberger, 218 in Delaware, or he's in Deutschland. This is our German producer from Ghana, and who did send something in. I may have printed it out. Let's see if I have it. List of printouts. Of course, those seem to have disappeared. So I will go to the email appropriately. Sulzberger.
We're going to the squirrel mail, people. Step back, squirrel mail in the house. When you need to find an email for a donation, squirrel mail has asked the question. Hold on. Now you got to wait for this. We got to wait for this. He's going to find it. Will he find it? Will he find the donation email? He may find it in his...
ITM, crackpot and buzzkill. After the recent email reply from John, I need to take this 218 promo producership offer in the newsletter. He becomes an executive producer. We did have a special offer for anyone who donated $218 to become executive producers in this show. This offer ends tonight or tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. No, it ends the 19th. Sorry, Tuesday night. Offer in the newsletter and to ask for a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
It's been too long since I last donated. Now you have a reason for this. I want to interject myself and say the reason he hasn't donated is because one of our LibJoe buddies, Greg, had gone to Africa and told this. He's a knight. Here, Alexander is. He told him, "Why are you donating to the No Agenda show?"
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they had met each other.
One of my friends, the LibJoe.
All right, okay, let's just back this up. He was in Africa.
Yeah.
And he met one of your LibJoe journalists there. Was the LibJoe on vacation? Was he on assignment?
My LibJoe is an Africanologist.
Oh.
He's all He goes to Africa all the time. He's married to an African woman.
Oh.
I know two guys like this. And they go to Africa all the time, and he brings art back. He's got a house full of probably $1 million worth of African art.
That New York Times pays pretty well, I guess.
No, he was never in the New York Times. He's the professor. He was going to go to the New York Times, but the other LibJoe pal, I think, personally, this is just a guess. I'm not going to accuse anybody. I think he queered the deal.
He undermined him. He backdoored and undermined him.
This is my guess. Well, anyway, but it serves him right because he goes to Africa and tells this guy not to donate to the show. So he does it for a year. Then now he needs a de-douching because he's back on board.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'll continue from there.
Right.
It's been long since I've donated. So long since I've donated. Also, I asked for karma for my newborn human resource, Nadine, who was born on February 12th. So we'll give her some karma. John, say hi to the mutual LibJoe friend and university professor. I will. Adam, congratulations on your upcoming marriage. May the third time be the charm.
Thanks.
You do not say that.
That's not a nice thing to say. But thanks anyway.
Hey, go for 5.
No.
Love you guys. No homo. Missed the DSC. Well, he's one of your old listeners, so that probably is appropriate then. He's our German producer in Ghana.
Jawohl. Danke. Alexander.
So give some...
karma, right?
You gave him the de-douching, so give a little karma to the newborn.
There you go, newborn karma.
You've got karma.
Anyway. Luckily, none of these guys listen to the show except Sulzberg.
the LibJoes.
The LibJoes.
They
would can't take it.
The phone would be ringing off your hook.
The Harris story that you brought up from just a quote from the book, that it would blow anyone's brains up. Oh! So we had a number of people that took the 218 offer, including Sabode and Jacob and Alexander and now Jonathan Greenlee, $218. These will all be promoted to executive producer.
That's right. That was your special. I have to say, and I understand why, but I kind of miss your funny pictures.
Well, I'm going to have to cut the funny pictures down to next to nothing. That's why I only ran one humorous photo.
Yeah.
The funny pictures at the end of the newsletter, I've traced it down, are largely responsible for the newsletter being sent to spam.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. That's too bad, isn't it? Thanks, Google.
Yeah, thanks, Google.
We should really just have a rule. You want to subscribe to the newsletter, you just can't do it with the Gmail address.
Well, if I do the stats on it, it's about 75 to 80% of all of the No Agenda listeners have a Gmail
Which is
address.
why you probably shouldn't listen to my advice in the meeting.
All right, back to Jonathan Greenlee, 218. Drunk donation. Jingles, Reverend Manning, plus mac, again, random, plus mac and cheese, plus AOC, don't eat me, Hillary. Oh,
now
plus AOC, don't.
He's drunk. He's drunk. He's drunk.
So give a don't eat me AOC and two to the head, fade into Yoko and fade out into Karma as the sun sets.
That's a sure enough money shot. Woo, Jesus. Woo, Lord. Look at that. That's a money shot. Kellyanne Conway is a money shot.
Living the mac and cheese life. Mac and cheese.
Eat me, Hillary Clinton.
You've got karma.
Drunk or not, I can roll them out.
Jeffrey Fields in San Marcos, Texas, $218. Now I looked to see if he has sent something in, and he has in the past sent his notes in via email. Because I got a list of them.
He just wants to be executive. He just took advantage of the 218 and will become an executive producer. Executive producer.
Yeah.
Thank you very
next,
much.
Another guy who didn't send a note. It appears. Let me just look him up real quick.
Wait a minute. Wasn't there someone who sent War and Peace? Oh, that's later.
Sorry?
Yeah. No. I know there was a very long donation note, but it's not this one. Okay. We're
Riley, I don't have anything from him either. He's in Loomis. This is Richard Riley, 218. Now down to last donation is D Clegg, and she wrote a card. She sent a card in with her horse Monty on the cover. It might not be her horse. It's a cartoon. Dear John and Adam, she doesn't write in cursive. But she's got just a fabulous looking writing. It looks like a font, only it's not. Dear John and Adam, I thank you for all you do. I have no doubt that No Agenda has kept me from losing my mind. I am grateful. I am Mrs. John Clegg of Sunset Beach, and I know John has donated to the show. I have not yet. Until now, I would like to be dedouched.
You got it.
You've been de-douched.
I would also like to ask that this donation go towards John's knighthood, and I'd like to thank him for all of the hard work to keep us afloat.
Oh, of course.
He created a job for himself and works every day. I'm also thankful for all the extra things he finds time to do. He's the best. Thanks again, John and Adam.
Oh.
D. Clegg.
Oh.
There was a sweet note,
Very
and
nice.
that's what we like to see. That concludes our list of associate and executive producers for show 1113.
Yeah.
And we want to thank these folks for helping keeping this thing going.
So the way I read the rules of donation for this particular episode, we have a nice list of executive producers, and D. Clegg will be our one associate executive producer. As the 218 special combo deal got you an exec producership for this show and this show only.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Well, we congratulate.
Well, it does expire on the 19th, so it's still possible to
if people still send in? Okay. If people still send
executive producership for the next show, 11/14.
Excellent.
It's possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you to our executive producers and our sole associate executive producer. It's the way our Value for Value network works. It's how... it's how, you look at what this show does for you. What is it worth to you? You send that into us. End of story. Some people just do crazy things for the show. I got a map of our 11/11/11 Super Karma Geocoin.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. This thing has traveled 100,000 miles? No, not 100,000.
Keeps going. People grab it and then they go to Europe. They go to Africa.
I put it in the show notes. So this GeoCoin has gone from America to South America to Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan. Looks like India is on there. Different Scandinavia.
Some spook got a hold of it.
Some spook.
It's now off the coast of Venezuela.
It went. Well, the spook apparently came from. It looks like Scandinavia, and the SpookNet took it down to Venezuela. So it's in Venezuela. It's a part of the. Maybe it's an economic hitman type deal where they just keep follow the coin.
Could be the coin could now be part of some code.
We got to keep our eye on this. You can find that. It was at geocaching.com. I'll put it in the show notes. But again, thank you for supporting the show. As you can see, it can be done in many different ways. And we'll be thanking more people $50 and above in our second segment. And remember, we have another show coming up on Thursday for you. You can support the work at
Dvorak.org/NA.
And what we call this is a formula. We like you to go out there and propagate it.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order. Shut up, slave.
I've been looking at this 5G stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, number of different ways I'm looking at the 5G. Just trying to track whatever's going on, whatever developments, and it's very underdocumented in general, and people really don't understand much about what's happening. And so there's a lot of PR, and you can call it promotion, you can call it misinformation, disinformation, a lot of different things. But there's one of our producers caught this huge native advertising compendium on thehill.com. What is the Hill? Is that political, the Hill?
Yeah, it's the Hill. It's referring to the Hill.
Right, but are they right leaning, left leaning? What are they?
They're slightly left wing, but not like the WAPO or Politico.
Right.
They're a little more centrist.
Well, they have created probably 25 different video, and I can almost call them little shows because some of them are 10 minutes, some of them are an hour. And
they created these, or were these native advertising?
No, it's native advertising, and it's sponsored. It's presented by Qualcomm. It's all about
the chip maker.
It's all Qualcomm are the guys. They're the big guys.
They're 5G.
They truly are getting 5G out there. So they paid the Hill to have all kinds of fun, cutesy little videos. And I'm just going to play two of them, but I think I may have to bring out more in the future that just that good. And you'll hear at the very end of this first clip with the Pittsburgh mayor, and he's trying to explain what smart cities are and what 5G.
Smart cities.
I know. Haven't you wondered what does it mean to you, John? 5G will bring us smart cities.
What it means to me, a smart city, the way I see it, especially let's look at San Francisco, is that when you're some homeless person on the street and you're going to take a dump on the sidewalk, the 5G system will see that and open up a hole where the dump can go into, and then they'll close it up after you're done.
It could be done with 5G. It's such a great technology. It totally could happen. You'll hear at the end, you'll hear the host, the so-called interviewer. Well, I want to get your opinion on, but I've done my fair share of bullcrap videos where you're asking someone a question. It's a paid environment. You're paid to ask the question. He's paid to answer the question, whether he's the mayor or not. He has something to say, and you're just asking the question for form. It's not, you're not having a conversation. And after you, great take. It was great. Fantastic. Good job, Mayor. So you'll hear that at the end of this just to accentuate how phony it is.
One more for safety.
Yeah. One more for safety, everybody. That's just for us. So here's the Pittsburgh mayor citing the need to be inclusive when considering 5G smart cities, which takes your idea to a whole next level.
What does it mean to be a smart city in modern terms?
A lot of different definitions for it. First part of SMART is being inclusive and understanding that if we're only mining the data for some, that we're creating a larger digital divide. The second...
I like how... Yeah, oh yeah, if we're only mining the data for a few. Why are you mining my data at all? And that comes us to your point. Okay, we have some data on this guy. He's been pooping every day at 8:05 a.m. right in this spot. That's where we got to have the hole open up. So smart cities and this mayor, who is on board with the program, whatever incentive he's receiving, he's going to get a smart city. To him, it's like, we're going to be data mining everybody. We'll know exactly what everyone's doing is great.
And understanding that if we're only mining the data for some, that we're creating a larger digital divide. The second is not allowing the
and hold on a second. Stop it again. I'm obviously not going to get through this thing.
It's only 24 seconds. That's the best part.
So let me get this straight. So what he's saying is that somehow because somebody's data mined and somebody else isn't data mined, this is creating a larger digital divide. Now, digital divide, as I understand it, is the fact that some people have better access and more computing power and even have home computing and all kinds of things that others don't have because they can't afford it or whatever. Well, minorities are usually pushed, even though they all have smartphones. It's not the same. What's that got to do with? What has it got to do with data mining anybody?
Well, I think you can interpret what he's saying in a different manner, where he's saying if we're only data mining for the benefit of privileged people,
for the benefit.
Yeah, he doesn't say it.
I thought they data mined to spy on you.
Well, it's to benefit someone somewhere.
And understanding that if we're only mining the data for some, that we're creating a larger digital divide. The second is not allowing...
And by the way, your point is well made. It's just diarrhea of the mouth. I mean, he's just bleh. He's just talking because he just wants it. Whatever it is, he wants Qualcomm to give it to him cheap.
The second is not allowing the different industries to silo or harvest the data simply for their own profits, but for the greater good. And the third is to understand that it's a system of systems. All that information has a way to...
It's a system of systems. A system. So,
what did he say?
Well,
it's a system?
It's a system of systems.
It's a system of systems.
Yeah, he clearly knows what he's talking about.
Oh, brother.
So I do like that 5G is just granted as a given. It's for data mining. Hey, but I want to make sure that not just commercial companies get to spy on what you're doing. Well, I don't want that to happen. The government needs that too.
Different industries to silo or harvest the data simply for their own profits, but for the greater good. And the third is to understand that it's a system of systems. All that information has a way to be able to be helpful in solving problems if you're able to pull it together and then be able to have some really creative people outside of government and inside of government looking at ways to be able to utilize it. Great.
You hear that little thing? Great. Great job. Great take. It's great. Great take, man. Good work, Mayor. So now again, this is all sponsored by Qualcomm. So the questions and answers behoove them, and I don't blame the mayor for being a shill. That's what mayors do. But clearly, this is all about surveillance for profit, and yeah, maybe we'll get some benefit out of understanding traffic flows. But now, the second clip I have is an old friend of ours, more of yours than mine. You have to wonder, where do the tech journalists go when they can't eat? Where do they go when they can't eat?
Well, they become podcasters.
Well, some become podcasters. And others will sell out to take their technology
chops.
Credibility is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, okay.
Credibility. And then we'll sell out to basically just the highest bidder. Although this was probably pretty low. Do we remember Sarah Lacey?
Oh, she's in here?
Sarah Lacey. Yeah, now tell us about where was Sarah Lacey? Was she on Twitter or where was she? Was she at a different her own
she's
show?
Been around. I mean, I had her on my Cranky Geek show a few times. She is she's written a couple books. She's kind of become a uber feminist. And she was at Business Week, and then she became an independent. She did Pando Daily for years.
Pando Daily, yes.
Right. She was with she had a couple. She had Mark Ames and Paul Carr, two tremendously talented guys.
And didn't she wind up with Paul Carr? Isn't she with him now, or did she dump him already?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that.
Oh.
But let me just say that I don't know what happened, but she was she was funded by a lot of VCs, and she's been kind of hanging out with them, and she's moved on to something called Chairman Mom. And now some woman.
Well, this is a side gig. This is her side hustle, because this is from January 9th.
I didn't know anything about that. She was doing this.
Side hustle. I call her a tech-titute.
Well, she shouldn't do this.
She's a tech-titute of the highest order.
Virtual reality and augmented reality are two things that virtually everyone seems to agree are futuristic, fascinating, and just really cool. At the same time, AR and VR haven't really gone mainstream despite all of the excitement and demand. So far, both AR and VR have been held back for a lack of accessibility, viability, and capacity. With 5G, we finally have the technology to capitalize on the full potential of AR and VR for everyone. If you're a sports fan, 5G is going to empower some game-changing shifts. 5G-enabled remote production will make it possible to broadcast from anywhere without a satellite truck or a supporting on-site team. Not a sports fan? Not a problem. AR technology has the potential to supply the same access and experience for all the live events we love. 5G technology is going to empower our remote controls so they feel less like remotes and more like extensions of ourselves. After all, the future isn't in pressing buttons, it's in being the button.
Yeah!
The possibilities are limitless, and this is boundless.
It's not about pressing the button, ladies and gentlemen. It's about being the button. I am the button. Thank you, Tech-titute Sarah Lacey. Without you, I wouldn't have known. I, too, can be the button. Or is it button? Button.
She said button.
Button.
I don't think she said button.
No, but it should be button.
Well,
sad, isn't it?
I feel bad about this. I have to say, though, her presentation was very professional. So there's nothing wrong with the way she did it.
No,
but if you're going to do that kind of thing, you must just do that and nothing else.
Yeah, I'm thinking she probably didn't even get paid enough for it. I mean, that's really putting your credibility on the line. I think.
Well, what do you? I would guess.
Oh, by the way, if they ask me in a heartbeat, I feel like, hey, 5G, baby, woohoo!
I would guess I would say that you shouldn't do anything like that for less than $10,000. And I'm guessing
she got 5.
Yeah,
that's what I think. She probably got 5.
She got 5.
Here's a promotional idea. I was just thinking, for 5G, you could have an actual foam hand.
And then watch it melt?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fingers, 5. Big 5. Big foam.
5. Yeah, that's good.
Foam 5 finger 5G.
Yeah, 5G, 5. Yeah.
Anyway, it does seem that there's there's some issues with the FCC. It's about, they've really tried to ramrod this down, or really ram this down the throats of all the municipalities, and the mayors are like, you guys, you're forced to do this. You have to let them put up the little transmitters, and the timeline. It's just it's being ramrodded. It really is. But I'm not necessarily against it, because I think it is the only thing left for us to grow. I don't see any other. Oh shit! I had the president mentioned this. Yes. No. It's more based on something that you and I have been talking about kind of on the sideline over the course of a couple weeks, about this idea of growth. And really the struggle right now is for the Western financial world, to find where can we grow? Where can we make it happen? I think climate change was the initial idea, and that's where all the money would go, to print money, really, to grow economies and grow sectors. The dot-com bubble was a version of that. Y2K, if we go back. What have we had outside of climate change? What other initiatives have we had?
I don't know. I think you summarized most of them.
But 5G seems to be the big one. It encompasses everything. It's bullshit, but at least...
the problem is it's hiccuping, and it's bleeding, and global warming is still in play, and you can't have too many of these things going on at the same time.
I have a piece from that Rose Garden speech from Trump where he specifically talks about the growth and how he's got to get to that. And it's just, I just want to add it as a 1-minute data point for us.
Let me also ask you about the debt, sir, because it's gone from a shade under 20 trillion from when you took office. Now it's a shade over 22 trillion and heading in the wrong direction. What are your plans to reverse it?
Well, it's all about growth. But before I really focus on that, and you have to remember, President Obama put on more debt on this country than every president in the history of our country combined. So when I took over, we had one man that put on more debt than every other president combined. Combine them all. So you can't be talking about that. But I talk about it because I consider it very important. But first I have to straighten out the military. The military was depleted. And if we don't have a strong military, that hopefully we won't have to use because it's strong, if we don't have a strong military, you don't have to worry about debt. You have bigger problems. So I have to straighten out the military. That's why
you get plenty of money.
What did you say?
Audit the Defense Department. You'll get plenty of money.
Yeah, but we're talking about growth here.
If we don't have a strong military, you don't have to worry about debt. You have bigger problems. So I have to straighten out the military. That's why I did the 700 and 716 billion. But growth will straighten it out. You saw last month.
Now, listen to what he's saying, because he comes across as an idiot. I'm trying to read into the words. I think I'm hearing something different than what you just heard, because you're saying, audit the Pentagon. He's talking about, I think what he's saying is, I'm pumping this money in, and that will create growth through, I guess, the war sector. That's what I'm hearing him say.
Okay.
It's like, I did this, I did that for growth.
It's an old belief of Marxists, in fact, that the way you stabilize an economy is to do a war economy, and then you can just throw money. Everyone has to go to work because most of the things that you're manufacturing are getting exploded.
Yes.
And if we don't have a strong military, that hopefully we won't have to use because it's strong. If we don't have a strong military, you don't have to worry about debt. You have bigger problems. So I had to straighten out the military. That's why I did the 700 and 716 billion. But growth will straighten it out. You saw last month the trade deficit went way down. Everybody said, what happened? Well, what's happening is growth. But before I can focus too much on that, a very big expense is military. And we have no choice but to straighten out our military.
Is growth the only answer, sir, or is entitlement?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Growth. I don't know. It's a data point. We got to just listen for it coming up in the future. What does he think growth is? Is it the war economy? Because he's on path. Then he is a part of the let's go get Iran bullshit that's happening right now. Maybe he is.
Could be.
Maybe
Would
he
surprise me. What's Bolton doing in the White House?
Yeah, well, I think he's there because he has the goods on Trump about all the weird sex stuff they did together. But maybe Trump wants the neocons in. It'd be very disappointing.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing with Obama. Don't you remember when Obama ran? It was two things. We're going to get out of Iraq immediately. And the first thing I can do, you can take it to the bank. We're going to shut down Gitmo.
Close Gitmo.
He did neither one of those things. You get in office and you find out you're not running the place.
Yeah. Turns out the other guys are.
They're all set up. The whole thing's, just a facade.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, and of course they want to get rid of Trump because he seems to be playing he doesn't play the game they want him to play.
No.
So the whole thing is pathetic. Well, let's switch to another pathetic piece of news. Although I find this quite amusing. And this was played up quite nicely on the NewsHour with Srinivasan. Cardinal Kicked, Part 1.
I'm glad you got these.
After decades of investigations and charges, Pope Francis expelled former Cardinal and Archbishop of Washington, D.C., Theodore McCarrick from the Catholic priesthood today. The Vatican announced that an internal investigation found McCarrick guilty of soliciting for sex while hearing confession and sexual crimes involving minors and adults, quote, with the aggravating factor of the abuse of power.
Wow. Okay. Soliciting during confession.
This is the thing that got me. I'm listening to this. And I'm like, what? And so I'm trying to imagine how this goes.
Am I confessing?
Now, first of all, I think he probably didn't. I think he probably found men who came in and said, "Hey, forgive me, Father, for I sinned. I had sex with a man." Blah blah blah. And then he would, the priest at this where he's hearing confession, he'd say, "Really? Was it one time? Tell me how it works." And he said, "Maybe you should show me how it works. I'd be kind of interested in this."
Now, but this was also underage children?
Everything they walk.
How can here's what I don't understand. We throw people in jail for everything. How do these a-holes walk around?
I have no idea. And this is the first cardinal that's been booted from the church, I think, in 200 years. No one's ever gotten to cardinal. I mean, this is the highest right under, just second to Pope. And so to get as far as he did, and meanwhile just soliciting people in the confessional booth, it's like, this is like the guys. I'm reminded of the guys.
It's like a crooked cop, man. It's like that.
No, it's like those conversion therapy guys.
Yeah, there you go.
The number of conversion therapy evangelicals, and there's been many of evangelicals who were gay and they were just closeted, or they were gay, and they would do conversion therapy. Say, well, you're gonna have to show me how this works. I could use a lesson here. Can you do that on me and see what happens? I want to see what the response. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of games that are played, but it's a road to a come on. And I just found it to be hilarious that this was going on.
I find it so disturbing. It's disturbing. It's more just
I think it's hilarious personally.
But why aren't these people? I mean, is it because statute of limitations and that kind of?
There's plenty of that. Yeah.
Jeez, man. All right, part 2.
Police report were filed at the time, and why would there be? Because the guy was like, All right, play part 2.
The 88-year-old McCarrick is the highest-ranking Catholic official to be defrocked or removed from the priesthood. This follows decades of sex abuse scandals in the church. Defrocking means that he can no longer celebrate Mass or other sacraments. A Vatican summit to discuss the global sexual abuse crisis is set to begin next Thursday.
The global abuse crisis. These guys have no standing. I'm sorry. Jeez.
Well, anyway, I just found this to be.
It's interesting.
For some reason,
it used to be me who would bring these clips.
Yeah.
For years on the show, I said, "Listen to this," especially when the initial scandals were just starting to come to light. And you actually you said, "Don't do it anymore. Just stop."
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, let's say I did, but I probably did because it was just kind of hollow. It wasn't going anywhere. This is like coming to a head now, and this is funnier. Your clips weren't funny; they were kind of pathetic.
But I don't find this to be very funny.
Well, I think somebody in the confessional booth hearing somebody's confessing about some sex act and then coming on to them. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. I'll tell you what, I'll do a deal with you. You only have one Hail Mary instead of the 50 you deserve. But you got to show me how this works. We'll meet afterwards.
There will be a test.
Dogs are people, too.
That's right, everybody. Convergence of worlds. My favorite topics. Dogs, and I love dogs, and electric scooters.
Yeah, Tim, Jess, Elaine Rosa's attorney told 23 ABC she is in the process of turning herself in to Bakersfield police tonight after the district attorney's office filed charges of animal abuse and neglect against Rosa. You may remember that viral video causing an uproar on social media. That video showing Rosa dragging a dog behind a bird scooter. Rosa is now facing 1 felony and 1 misdemeanor charge, which could land her in jail for up to 3 years and a fine of $20,000. The video was captured by home surveillance cameras in downtown Bakersfield, appearing to show Rosa dragging a small dog on a bird scooter. BPD says the dog wasn't actually hers and was returned to its rightful owner, but it's unclear who actually owns the dog. Rosa was a former employee of the Kern Valley State Prison as a contracted psychologist. Her contract was terminated just days after the video went viral.
So, of course, a psychologist would do this.
Yeah, shrink gone nuts.
Have you seen this video?
No, I have not seen the video.
Oh, my God. The dog is she's on a leash. She's dragging the dog behind her. The dog is not, it's just like on his side, fur flying off. It's just being dragged along. What is wrong with people?
I don't know what's wrong with her.
Yeah. I thought that, she's a psychologist. Maybe that's the issue.
Oh, there's
that. Unreal. These scooters, man. They're bad for people, bad for dogs.
Their cameras out recording this stuff.
If this was, on the other hand, I'm not really glad about it because these are the Ring doorbells that people have been installing, which has a camera.
Is watching everything.
Yeah. So, of course. It's beautiful for the intelligence services. They can just flip on cameras everywhere, look at a whole street. They literally went from 1 to 2 to 3. There was 3 different videos that they put together for this video that apparently went viral.
So it wasn't somebody filming. It was just
yeah.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. Who bought didn't someone buy the Ring doorbell company?
Wasn't it Google?
It would make sense, wouldn't it? Let's see. Acquired. Let's see if anyone has any info on it. Amazon. Oops, sorry. $1 billion. Hello. Of course. Of course. These spy companies, man. Spies. Spying on us. Well, it's about to get a hell of a lot better. We've discussed my credibility, as in credit worthiness in the past.
Credibility and credit worthiness are not even connected.
That's why I said credit worthiness, to correct myself.
Okay.
My FICO score, to be precise.
It's skyrocketed.
It has.
Yeah.
Now, I came back to the U.S. in 2005, I believe, and what happened is I got on the payroll of my own company, and the IRS showed up at the company probably about a year later in San Francisco with their guns and said, "We've been looking for you." Do you remember this?
Did they have? I wasn't there. Did they have the guns pulled out?
No, they had a shotgun, and they both had their handguns exposed. And they were in uniform. They were IRS agent uniforms with handguns and a shotgun. We've been looking for you, Mr. Curry. I said, Google. They didn't find that very funny. And what had happened was my accountant in the Netherlands I'd paid taxes, but had not filed them at all or properly or whatever it was for the, 9 years I'd been out of the country. More than that. No, whatever amount of time. So I got a huge lien, and it cost me a lot of money in lawyers' fees and fines and all kinds of stuff. And then my wages were garnished. It was a harrowing ordeal. And, I think some of it is still on my record because, like a tax lien stays on your record for some ungodly, like 9 years or something. And so when we were looking initially at buying what I wanted to buy, the Airstream of Consciousness, it was very difficult for me to get any kind of financing because my FICO score was in the 600s. I was pretty much non-existent. When we started the show, I didn't even have a credit card, as you can recall. And I was quite proud of it, using cash and debit card only.
Yeah, heaven forbid you do that because then you're a useless citizen.
Exactly. So I had to become a more useful citizen, and I had to get a credit card and build up my credit. And, of course, once I met Tina the Keeper, who has, a FICO score of, I kid you not, 860.
That's what she's called, Tina the Keeper.
Hell yeah. She's been like kicking my ass about making sure I pay bills on time. I only have 3 bills, but okay. Paying bills on time and being a good citizen. And we want to buy a house. And now that we're together, we can actually buy a house because it's the 2 of us. So, we're going through the process, and, she did it. She helped me up my FICO score. I am now 750.
Well, good for you.
I'm very proud of myself. But of course, well, I am because, now we can, hopefully get a mortgage and get on the property ladder on the lowest rung.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Now, there are people who have problems with their FICO score, which is a complete commercial company that just made this score up to control you into believing that this is how...
When I was a kid, there was no such thing.
To control you into believing that you are a good citizen, as John just said. And it is a total scam. It is not much different than the Chinese social scoring system, except the FICO score if you actually check it, it hurts your score, which is the best part of the whole system.
I love that.
But NBC has a report. There's a brand new way now for you to fix your FICO score so you can be a better citizen and get on the debt ladder yourself.
For working mom Jacqueline Neary.
May I speak with Ms. Sanchez, please?
It's one sales cold call after another. Each number dialed, a chance to not be defined by another number.
My credit score currently is at 511, I believe.
Neary blames that very poor credit score on student loans and 9-year-old credit card debt from when her son was born.
I'm not that person, who they're judging off of that negative credit score.
Credit agency Experian says nearly 100 million Americans suffer from poor credit, which is why the company's launching Experian Boost, a free program designed to raise scores immediately in exchange for access to your bank account, utility bills, even cell phone payments.
You're asking people for their spending history, their bank accounts.
This is great news, everybody. Open up your stuff, let them in, and you get an immediate boost. In fact, we branded it as Experian Boost.
Pretty personal stuff. How safe is this to provide information-wise?
The consumer's always in control. They decide when they provide that access and when they want to revoke that access.
A demo led to an instant 21-point boost. But critics see risks of subprime lending, opportunism to make more money from more loans, and privacy concerns.
So someone is going to make money off of my data. It won't be me, but now that information exists, and it exists for the world to see, for it to be sold.
Experian promises encrypted records and to only sell this new information to its regular credit report clients, adding anyone who leaves the program should expect to see their score drop. For Neary, a risk worth taking, a bet on a better future by letting a company peek at the present.
What a piece of crap native ad that was. And 20 points? She said her score was 540, so now it's 560?
Woo! It's encouragement. This is slavery. It is sanctioned slavery. The first question I'd have for Elizabeth Warren, if I ever spoke with her, is what happened to your Credit Consumer Protection Agency Bureau? This is actual slavery. Oh, if you leave the program, if you don't let us watch what you do with your money, you'll go down in your ratings. It is slavery.
We need some smart state representatives to crack down on this stuff at the state level.
Yeah, the system, it's like a big fix, the system is in. Everything runs on it. People accept it. That's the bigger problem. People accept
in the olden
this.
days, the banks would do their own research on you.
Yes.
You wouldn't just look at a number and decide to give you a loan or not. I mean, how hard is that?
Which is exactly why we went with the credit union for our mortgage.
Yeah.
They look at you and say, hey, why do you get money from Dvorak every 2 weeks?
It's not from me. It's from the LLC.
They're like, you're very curious, Curry. We're not quite sure how your business works. We'd like to talk to you about it. But you know what? At least they're not basing it on a damn credit score. But yeah, but this is very bad. And you're right. The way NBC does this native ad for this new Boost product, it's disgusting. Save. I guess that's the only answer is save. If you're young enough, you can do it. Not like old messed up people like me.
I
spent all my money. But I had a lot of fun spending it.
Stop spending your money. What am I supposed to do?
Show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
So we do have a few people to thank for show 1113. I suppose we could have used is it 1113, 1114, 1113?
It's 1113.
Yeah, I could have used the gimmick of 13.
I have actually. There's a thing called a sexy prime number. Are you familiar with the sexy primes?
Never heard of anything such as this.
All right. Well, I'm going to send it to you because maybe some good numbers. We can use some sexy numbers.
Sexy prime.
Primes. Sexy prime numbers. Yeah.
Sounds like a bar.
It's a good band name too. Sexy Prime.
Sexy Prime. Hello, Cleveland. Christian Allen at the beginning of this list, $133.33. Talking about 13s. Maple Ridge, BC, Canada. she is a happy birthday call out, and we got that on the list.
Well, that's actually a he, and I'd just like to read it.
He.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm placing a donation of $133.33 for my son Tristan's 15th birthday, which falls on today, show day. We are long overdue for a de-douching since we've been punching each other in the mouth since I discovered no agenda right after Trump's election.
You've been de-douched.
He asked, this is his son, Tristan, he asked I make a donation to the show so he could have a happy birthday shout-out on the best podcast in the universe. His mom and I could not be any more proud of him as we watch him navigate this ever-changing world. He's a straight-A student despite being bombarded with social libtard propaganda every day at school. Don't ever change and always be yourself, Tristan. Now there's some parents for you.
Huh.
That's very nice. He's on the list, and we'll give you a little karma right here.
You've got karma.
I got some papers here. I got to figure out what I did with them.
Rolling papers?
It's always something. Well, that's the first thing that come to your mind. All right, onward. Ryan Smith, $110.56 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, he's got a...
Who's the next person here? Is it's Michael Mandel? No.
No, it says Mr. and Mrs. C. I don't know who that is. But this is let's see, been listening for over a year at least. I was hit in the mouth by Darcy's brother on Facebag. Couldn't be happier, you two, and Coffee with Scott Adams provide me with perspective, which keep my amygdala growth in check. My first donation, so please do de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
Thank you.
I did not see a crisp hundo. This came in through PayPal. Michael Mandel in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He actually wrote in an actual note, which I have somewhere. Here it is. He's been a listener and infrequent contributor. Your show is a treasure, the only professionally produced media that valiantly swims upstream in the river of BS generated by nearly every other source. Well, we're professional. I would be remiss not to note that I mean professionally produced. Your podcast has that in spades. That would be Adam. I have waited and waited for my financial ship to come in, but as always seems to stay straight. And I dream of making a gigantic contribution someday. In the meantime, here's a hundo. Yeah, I need it, but in the spirit of wealth redistribution, I'm sending it to you. I'm experienced enough to know I won't miss it in a couple of weeks anyway. Anyway, just as a thing, we could read the note if we want to or not. KC3BLF 73.
73s, Kilo 5, Alpha, Charlie. So
there's that. Christine Codega.
Oh,
Codega.
This is the first one we got.
Oh, this is $99.99. 33 times 3 for the invisible no agenda hat.
All right, here it is. Here comes your hat, Christine. There you go.
First and last is my guess.
I don't know. It's a great looking hat. It's invisible.
Jason Conklin in Holly Springs, Georgia, 8701. It looks like birthday in order here.
Well, not just
Kimberly Lewis in Davis, California.
Hold on, John. He's Mason becomes a knight today. So
okay.
I'd like to read the note.
Oh.
Because there's all kinds of information in here.
I think there's a reason you want to read the note, but I'll let you go.
No? You read the note then. I'm just trying to stop for the knights, that's all. Go ahead, read it.
Well, he's a knight after he gets knighted. This donation's amount brings me to knighthood. I claim the title of Sir Dorian Mode, Knight of the G major chords. Let the attached accounting show a grand total, and he's got the thing on there. I designate 33 cents to Adam's penny jar. That means 33 more people.
Thank you.
And assert special kindredship with future knights and dames. Jobs Karma works. I'm 6 weeks into my new position following a request for interview karma in November. Now can I have some Peter's Principle Protection Goat Karma? Lastly, I request a WTC 7 won't go away, and also a 10-second synopsis of Adam's views on the subject.
I don't have that for you.
Can I search for show notes related to WTC7?
Yes, that you can do. Go to bingit.io. Bingit.io, that is our show notes search engine, and that is a great place to start. And he wanted palmetto cheese and grass-fed butter out the round table. Job karma works. Okay.
Seems to.
So,
we don't know why.
WTC7 won't go away.
By Ayn Rand.
You've got karma.
Kimberly Lewis in Davis, California. One of the stops of the Zephyr. 8008. Charles Couch, 8008. Don't know where he's from. He also says Jobs Karma. Put some at the end for you. Paul Gabrielson, 8008. He found the Easter egg. Sam Garcia, Valrico, Florida, 8008. Chris Kincaid, 5510. Matthew Smith, $51. Tara Reese in Urbana, Illinois, 5036. And it's for a birthday. Is she on the birthday list? I don't know.
Well, I'm still writing down Kimberly Lewis's birthday, which is not on the list. What's this one?
This is when you're done writing it down.
Yeah, I finished that one.
Tara Reese.
For her birthday. Okay. Jesus.
Urbana, she's turning 36 on the 31st of January.
Okay.
Thanks for the great podcast. Oh, let me back up and get something from Oscar. How did I miss that? No, we haven't gotten there yet. So I don't know where I am. I'm screwed up. But Oscar Quiroga II in Huffman, Texas, 5510. And he is calling out Chris Quiroga and Robert Parkerson as douchebags. Douchebag. He says they should be ashamed of themselves.
You know, we should probably mention that Eric had to do the spreadsheet for something.
Oh, he's
last night.
He's running this school, and he had to go across drive 5 hours or something to some event.
Yeah,
with a bunch of kids.
It's bad for the show, but good for kids, I guess.
Well, who cares?
I care. I care when we miss stuff. I really do.
Well, we did miss something, and it wasn't on the spreadsheet for somebody else, which we'll get to later. Donation for my birthday. Anyway, Tara Reese is turning 36. Chris Slowinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. These are following our $50 donors' name and location. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 6 of them. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Joel DeRuin, Sir Joel in Savannah, Georgia. Scott Evers in Parts Unknown. And Nicholas R. Brown in Parts Unknown. It says CPDF.
Yes. This is Nicholas Brown. Yeah, this is the big...
the big giant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, wasn't this a make good?
No, that wasn't the make good, I don't think.
Then why was it... Okay.
I don't know. I didn't see the PDF.
Oh, it came in with the email.
Oh.
Came in with the spreadsheet. In the morning, John and Adam.
Take a look at this at the PBDS on our time. It's nothing we read for $50.
I'm finally.
A lot of people have written.
Here it is.
That we read everything. We don't.
No, we read nighting notes.
We don't even do that necessarily.
I like to. When someone becomes a knight, I do like that, and I believe this is the case with this. Let me double check. Yeah, he becomes a knight today.
Okay.
So this is Nicholas Brown. I'm finally a knight. As I write to inform you of my newly acquired status, I cannot help but think back over the almost 10-year journey that I have made with my two brothers from another mother. I, like many a knight before me, have learned of the No Agenda Show due to John's lovely plugs on Twitch, also known as The Show. I immediately deleted off my podcast list once John was fired. I think he left. I don't think he was fired. And then he has a very, very long note, which I don't think is that interesting for the show. But he does want to be formally knighted as Sir. How now brown cow, Sir, how now, brown cow, knight defender of Capitol Hill, drainer of the swamp, castellan of the house, keeper of the Constitution, first of his name. And he requests Tito's and Tatas for the round table. So I will put those in there. That's a very long night name, my friend.
Okay, so we have a few make goods. Starting with Zukel, or Knight from, how do you spell that? Z-U. It's on the top of that list there, the note.
What are you talking about?
The note that came in with the knight list of the knights and the list of the dames and the list of the upgrades. It's got a name at the top, says make good.
Sir Jim Zukel.
Zukel. I'm asking you how to spell that.
Z-U-C-A-L.
Oh. You think I know that? Because I had his note. I printed it out because I wanted to read it, and then now I can't find it. So I have to go find it. I have to go to Squirrel Mail, type in Z-U-C-L.
Well done.
James, lost donation. Okay, here it is. He came in with he says, I donated 1111 on February 2nd. There was no mention of my name on the 1111 show.
Oh.
Just making sure you received my donation. Yes, love the show. We got your donation. It was in there. I got a couple other things. P. Vasilos, who is the guy who left his donation off, and he had to send email in because it wasn't on the list, and we said to send a mail in, and we will read it. Happy 11/11. I wanted to thank you, both of you listeners and producers who support the show. I started listening at around episode 960 after getting hit in the mouth on Reddit. I think we read that. All the listeners, I believe we read this note. This is funny. We're still douchebags because I remember the jingle request is, I'm triggered, you might die, and yay. Okay, well, that's out. That's done. And then last is John Donovan, the Baron of Silicon Valley. I'm really hoping that you catch this and do a make good on today's show. Previous note was a thank you and karma testimonial for show 111 with a no jingles, no karma that made it before the deadline and was not on the show. I need some health karma now. So please do a Chinese ITM, Reverend Whippet LGY goat karma for me and for the rest of the peerage needing some health karma.
Yeah, I can't do all that. I can do health karma, but we're right near the end of this segment, and now I've got to do all these jingles? You got to give them to me slow again. You can't just do a list like that.
I'm going to read the rest of the note first. I'll give them to you slow. Chinese ITM. Whip it.
It's not whip it, it's whoop it.
Whatever. LGY. And goat karma, which I'm not sure is health karma.
It all depends on how you look at it. Okay, anything else for him?
Ben 6, so just only got to 112 today, or 1112. I don't know. I met he's a very famous, he's a baron, so we have to do these things. So please do not read this. Oh, okay. I won't read that. Okay, that's it.
Station Woo!
Get out there, whooping with the Constitution!
Yay!
You've got karma.
Dvorak.org/NA. It's a birthday. Oh, no agenda.
And here we go, our birthday list for today. It is the 17th of February, 2019. Belated birthday, 36, to Tara Reese, who celebrated on the 31st of January. Paul Hooper says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Lisa Stelter Mason. Lisa Stelter Mason Conklin turns 43 on February 20th. We heard Tristan's parents wish him a happy 15th birthday. And Kimberly Lewis says happy birthday to her smoking hot husband, Sir Reptitious Knight of the Marin Headlands. His birthday also on February 20th. Happy birthday for everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. And we need to do our knights here. We've got two knights. I'd like Mason Conklin and Nicholas Brown to get ready as we grab our blades.
Yeah.
All right, Mason and Nicholas. And and Nicholas, thank you both very much for your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. Therefore, I'm very proud to bring you into our round table and pronounce-ticate the Sir Dorian Mode, Knight of the G major chord, and Sir How Now Brown Cow, Knight Defender of Capitol Hill, Drainer of the Swamp, Castellan of the House, Keeper of the Constitution, first of his name. For you, gentlemen, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Palmetto Cheese and Grass-Fed Butter, Tito's and Tatas, Waifus and Waffles. We got Sparkling Cider and Escorts, Rubenesque Women and Rosé, Breast Milk and Pablum, Ginger Ale and Gerbils, Bong Hits and Bourbon, and Mutton and mead for you. You can pick it all up at noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will take care of you. And thank you very much for your support. And remember, we do have another show coming up on Thursday, Dvorak.org/NA.
Okay, now here's the thing that Donovan says. I'm going to read from his original note. Calling all cyber dudes and dudettes. Let's try to do, now this is nothing that has been, it's not on the meetup side. It's just that something, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to at least do this much. Let's try to do a simultaneous meetup on Saturday 3/2 and get a group together in San Francisco at the same time as the Austin meetup.
Okay.
This will be during the Cybers Conference, RSA Conference in San Francisco. Details to follow on the meetup site. There's been no details on the meetup site. Now, what are you going to say?
I don't think it's a good idea. Austin has finally, we're doing our big Texas meetup. I don't want California horning in on our glory.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah. There's been plenty of meetups in California. It's Texas's turn now. Come over here. Besides, I really don't see that working very well. So we're going to get a laptop. Hey, everybody, let's wave.
I'm sorry?
What's the idea? We're doing simultaneous meetups and we're going to wave at each other, or just do a...
There was no mention of any such thing.
Okay. Okay, they're trying to put together a meetup.
So what's the point, is what you're asking?
Yeah. I'm irked. You can tell I'm irked. I'm irked about the donations, John. I'm irked about the donations today. It really irked me. That's all.
What?
It's nothing to do with you. It's just shoddy. I think we're already pretty unprofessional in a lot of things. But I just like to get some of these things right. The birthdays, that kind of stuff. It's just I'd like to get it right.
Well, I think grousing about it is not really making it any more professional. All right, onward. Let's go with the idiot mayor story.
Okay.
Idiot mayor, PBS 1.
The race for the White House in 2020 is in full swing, and 10 Democrats so far have declared their candidacy for the party's nomination. With just 4 months to go before the first Democratic presidential debate in June, Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, recently announced that he formed an exploratory committee. If he wins his party's nomination, he would be the first openly gay candidate of a major party to run for the White House. Mayor Buttigieg joins us now to discuss his book, The Shortest Way Home, and why he would be a good president. Mayor Buttigieg, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So first, obvious question, why would a 37-year-old mayor of a small city in the Midwestern part of the U.S. be running for president?
Well, I believe we're in a moment that calls for something completely new. And among other things, I think it calls for voices from the industrial Midwest, a place that, in particular, my party, to its detriment, largely ignored in past election cycles. I think it also calls for somebody from a newer generation. As a millennial, I'm just old enough or just young enough to qualify as an older millennial. I'm from the generation that, for one thing, grew up experiencing school shootings as the norm. I was in high school when Columbine happened. We're the generation that's going to be on the business end of climate change, that's going to have to pick up the pieces of the fiscal mess that will be made by current tax policy. And economically, we could be the first generation in American history to make less than our parents if nothing is done. So I think that those kinds of voices have been missing from the debate, and it's time to step forward. I get that it's a non-traditional path compared to, let's say, being in the Congress, but as an executive with on-the-ground experience in government, I would also argue that the more Congress starts looking, or Washington starts looking like our best-run cities and towns instead of the other way around, the better off we'll be.
she asked the question, why would a 37-year-old mayor for some bumfuck city in Indiana be running for president? And my jaws dropped during this whole thing, wondering why is PBS NewsHour giving this guy? They gave him 15 minutes.
They're desperate for candidates.
What? There's thousands of candidates.
But they got to find someone who works. Nobody works. No one's good. They're looking for anything. They're filling time.
He's a 37-year-old gay male from Indiana who nobody has heard of.
He ticks the boxes right there. Midwest, gay, Democrat, perfect.
And he's the only thing that I can see where they may be kind of like jacked up about this guy, because he's so all in on climate change that's all he talks about. And by the way, I think it's going to be a losing talking point for the Democrats. Climate change is not.
Well, that's not true, because everyone right now on the Democratic side is running on the Green New Deal. Does he mention the Green New Deal? He's an idiot if he doesn't use that. If he just says climate change, then he's dumb.
Well, wait. You think he has a chance no matter what he mentions?
No, you're just saying that this climate change, no one cares. That's not true. All of the candidates who are running in the primary for the Democrats have all said, we endorse the Green New Deal. So it is important to do that if you say Green New Deal.
I don't know if he said, I can't remember if he said it or not, but let's play a little part 2 here. He's got some more stuff to say. It's only 37
mentioned tax policy. That's one of the issues that we're already hearing these early announced candidates talk about. Where do you put yourself on the spectrum of the people who've expressed an interest in the Democratic nomination? There's Kamala Harris. There's everybody to Elizabeth Warren. Bernie Sanders may get in. Let's start with tax policy. Where would you put yourself when it comes to taxing the wealthy?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that there are people in America right now who are not paying their fair share. The concentration of wealth has increased to a level that is almost incompatible with democracy, especially at a time when it feels like dollars can sometimes outvote people.
Oh, yeah. Billionaire is a bad word. We learned all this.
Well, he's falling into line. Let's go to the third final little short clip, which I apparently have found something in there that is a WTF moment.
The mistake is believing that border security is as simple as just putting up a wall from sea to shining sea. And by the way, I also think it's a mistake to believe that security in general in the 21st century is as simple as military and border security matters. At a moment like this, when 21st century threats from cybersecurity to climate security are demanding action, many, especially the majority party in the Senate, don't seem to show any interest in tackling that at all.
You mean climate security? Yeah. Need action.
Climate security.
Climate security, baby. Yeah, you do you want to be unsecure?
What does it mean?
I don't know. Didn't they ask at PBS?
No, of course not. It's almost as though it was a native ad for this guy. But he's another guy on the list. He won't. There is a part 4, which is 45 seconds if you want to.
Yeah, of course.
Should
hopefully we can save this.
He have done that, and whether you agree or not, if you were president, for example, you've said you think the climate change is a national emergency. Could you see yourself declaring an emergency over that?
I may be the youngest person in the 2020 conversation, but I'm old enough to remember when conservatives and liberals alike were skeptical of presidential power grabs, and the idea that he can assert additional power based on an emergency that's not a true emergency. To the extent that there is a humanitarian crisis, it's one of his own making because of the cruel policies being implemented at the border. And in the meantime, something like climate, something that has the destructive power of perhaps a depression or a world war, that is a much more real emergency, is demanding our attention.
The science is in. Science.
Yeah, this has to stop. What these people are saying, and by the science is backing off from this, we're all going to die in the climate. I mean, it's happening everywhere. We're identifying it. NASA's top global warming scientists, we played her on the show, backing away from it. The Austrian Meteorological Institute is also backing away from the consensus of climate change. But the politicians are all in. They're pushing it so hard and abusing children. Euronews had this report this morning. It's very short. So there was another climate change rally. This is an 11-year-old girl. And listen to, there's adults standing around her as this child is filled with fear and tragedy and emotion and cries about the climate killing us. And these assholes are standing around her, cheering her on.
Hi, my name is Iris, and I'm 11, and I love our planet, and I don't want everything to stop. And if we do want everything to stop, then we're going the right way about it at the moment. And this isn't good.
Oh, very emotional. Great job. Do they not see the destruction?
No. Of course not.
Ah.
I think it's great.
It's child abuse. It's up there with these priests. It's just a different religion. You're making, it's abusive. So abusive.
Yep.
Anyway.
All right. Well, let's move on to, I have a Venezuela update.
Okay.
On PBS. So it's PBS report, not Democracy Now! So it's going to be pro the new guy.
Guaido.
The U.S. began using military transport planes today to deliver food, medicine, and supplies for Venezuelans to a border city in Colombia. The airlift follows shipments using civilian aircraft, and the U.S. says more shipments are planned. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro continues to block aid delivery, but opposition leader Juan Guaido, who the U.S. and many other countries recognize as president, says on Monday he will announce plans to bring the supplies into Venezuela.
Yeah, I think I actually have a follow-up to that. Let me see. I don't know where this clip is from. Let's see. It's about exactly him doing this.
Venezuela's opposition leader and self-declared president, Juan Guaido, has promised to organize brigades of volunteers.
Yeah, this is Euronews, so very similar, I guess.
To ensure international aid reaches the country's population, unless the Venezuelan army does the job itself. The message to the armed forces of Venezuela, he told supporters in Caracas, is that there are 7 days for the humanitarian aid to come in. 1 week for them to do the right thing. We are authorizing the aid to enter. The United States has flown in food and medical supplies to neighboring Colombia, but it's been blocked by the government of President Nicolas Maduro, who sees the operation as a political maneuver designed to oust him from power.
Have we seen anything on the Iran connection? Have they been ramping that up at all?
Not in the last couple of days, but I'm beginning to think the possibility. Tell me about this. So we've been pretty good at rebelizing one country after another in that list of the 7. You know, those countries have been ruined. I mean, Libya, Syria's all beat to crap.
Well, should we check the list?
No, I don't want to check the list again. We know the list. It's just a bunch of countries we rebelized. And now, is it possible that somebody's gotten it in their brain that, hey, what happens if we rebelize some countries in South America? It's within our sphere of influence. It makes a lot more sense to do that there and steal the oil. Biggest oil reserves in the world, by the way, off the coast of Venezuela. What if we did it there? What would happen, do you think? I mean, I'm thinking from a neocon's perspective, they want to rebelize everything.
I don't know.
Maybe this is a test. And so how are we going to what's our excuse? Well, Hamas and Hezbollah are somehow in Venezuela. We got to root them out.
Well, this is I have a collection of articles. This is not the first time this connection has been made. Let me see. This is September 8, 2009. The link between Iran and Venezuela, a crisis in the making. Iran and Venezuela in bed together. Diplomatic ties go back almost 50 years. And they all these stories tie it to drugs. We have...
Drugs?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Here's Reuters. When was this?
That ploy didn't work.
Excuse me. No. This is July 21st. So it was 2009. July 21st, Venezuela denies U.S. drug report, Hezbollah charges. So this is not new. In fact, this is when Obama was just in, so that's kind of interesting. This is Iran and its proxy, Hezbollah, strategic penetration in Latin America. This probably also from 2009. Let me see. Yep, 2009. Iran's goals in Latin America. It's like, get the drugs in. So this was tried. This was tried 10 years ago with the same link between Hezbollah, Venezuela, and obviously Iran. So they're bringing back some playbook, but we haven't figured it out yet.
Well, it's not going to be pretty.
I don't think so either. And what's the rhetoric on Iran?
Well, the latest thing is this clip I have, which is the Iran news with Pence.
Yeah, I got that too.
Floating around.
Well, they have the big Munich security conference.
Yeah, and I guess Pence is getting is ramping things up.
Let's see which
Iran news.
Yeah, got it. Here we go.
Vice President Mike Pence and German Chancellor Angela Merkel squared off over the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal today at the annual Munich Security Conference in Germany. Pence used strong language in his speech to top global defense and foreign policy officials demanding that European countries back U.S. sanctions against Iran.
The time has come for our European partners to stop undermining U.S. sanctions against this murderous revolutionary regime.
Pence spoke after Merkel used her speech to defend the decision by Germany and other nations to remain in the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement, saying it is a way to continue to exert pressure on Iran. The United Kingdom, Germany, France, Russia, China, and the European Union are still part of the agreement with Iran.
Yeah. And then, the Europeans, they're still trying to circumvent all the payment systems to continue to do work with Iran. This could be much bigger. Maybe something much bigger is happening.
Maybe. But what?
I don't know. Hopefully we'll get some producers who maybe are some boots on the ground. There's got to be something brewing in Iran that we're not hearing about.
Well, this is where our economic hitmen would come in handy.
Needed to come in for sure. Quick update maybe on the yellow vests. I think there was a request for that earlier in the show. Third month now in effect.
Clashes in Paris on Saturday marked 3 months since the Gilets jaunes demonstrators rallied against President Emmanuel Macron's policies, but with fewer people taking part.
Mind you, this is Euronews, so stand by for the propaganda.
Last November, there were around 300,000 who took to the streets across cities in France. Last week, there were around 50,000, according to government estimates. But organisers put the figure at over 100,000. Of course, we are tired, we are fed up, but we won't give up. We won't give up on anything because they want to muzzle us and we want to be heard. So I will carry on until the movement runs out of steam, if it runs out of steam. I remain prepared to continue because I'm unable to buy as many things every day. I'm also here to denounce the violence from the police. There is more and more violence, which unfortunately the media does not show in France. A poll this week showed dwindling support for them, as more than half of those surveyed said they want any violence to stop.
All right. So it's just not stopping. And it's still spreading, but this is the only report I can find is
3 months. 3 months.
Straight. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months straight, and we get no news in the U.S. about this at all?
Or Europe is barely any news. We have yellow vest in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Germany, I think maybe Austria. You really don't know because it's not mainstream reporting. I would have to make an actual effort.
There has to be some reporting somewhere.
This is it, Euronews, and it's the propaganda.
Well,
it's tapering off. Oh, it's a lot less than it was. It's only 50,000. Who cares about 50,000 people who were pissed off? Ugh. All right, we do have this.
That's bad.
This was a great report, so interesting to me that I got our little jingle ready for it.
A spot the spook, spot the spook. Everybody wants to spot the spook.
This is from the podcast Autoline Daily, episode 2532. Boy, That's a little bit ahead of us.
There's a fascinating transformation going on with the board of directors at General Motors. It's now well populated with people from the intelligence and military communities. They include Mike Mullen, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Jamie Mishek, former deputy director of the CIA, Linda Gooden, formerly the head of information systems at Lockheed Martin, and Wes Bush, former CEO of Northrop Grumman. In a world of cyber attacks and geopolitical flare-ups, General Motors is making sure it has the kind of corporate guidance that knows how to deal with these kinds of problems. Another point worth repeating, almost half of GM's board are women, the highest percentage in the auto industry by a wide margin. And that's going to give GM perspectives that other automakers do not have.
Now, it's a podcast, so it's just information. But that's quite an interesting list of board members.
Well, there's more than just information. There's an opinion at the end.
Yeah, I don't care about the opinion. I was looking at the spooks.
Yeah, the place is filled with them. It's almost all spooks.
But why? What does GM make war stuff? I guess they do, huh?
Yeah, tanks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But still, that's an interesting list. Is that how you get paid off at the end? Like be on the board and everything's good. Thanks for your service.
It's a paid board job. It's not like a free one. Maybe it could be just that. And GM's the only company that'll allow it. Maybe, I don't know what. It's just very, very fishy.
I do like that it's that the majority is women. And I hope the company does really well. That's what we've been promised.
Yes, with all the women that should do better than typically all men.
Yep.
According to what we've been promised.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we should do this update since it seems to be incredibly important to people. Although the event itself is completely uninteresting. But the fact that it took place is very, very bad for the United States. And once again shows you how the mainstream media gets just fooled into all kinds of crap. This is the Jussie Smollett. I think we... this is kind of what everyone has, and you want to chuckle. Well, I'll play the report in a quick discussion.
Developing news now in the Jussie Smollett case. The two men arrested in the alleged attack on the actor were released from custody, but apparently not before giving police important information. Sources, they tell CBS News the Nigerian brothers say the Empire actor orchestrated the whole thing.
Sarah and Chris, this story is still evolving. Chicago police released a statement tonight saying information from those brothers you mentioned, quote, shifted the trajectory of the investigation. And police say they've reached out to the attorney representing Jussie Smollett, hoping to speak to him. They've now released those brothers without filing any charges. And when they did, police said there was new evidence, but didn't say what it was. Now sources tell CBS News the brothers said Smollett paid them to take part in the attack. Sources say the pair was paid $3,500 before they left for Nigeria shortly after the attack and were promised another $500 when they returned. They also reportedly said they bought the rope that was around Smollett's neck at a hardware store. Thursday, police searched the apartment of the brothers and removed bleach, a black ski mask, as well as other items. Smollett has hired Michael Monaco as his lawyer. He's best known for representing President Trump's one-time personal attorney, Michael Cohen.
No, that'll be good luck with that.
Well, let's back up. We called this from the minute it was.
We did.
It was produced as some sort of a news story because of the situation.
John, it wasn't just a news story. It was a breaking news. Stop everything. I was listening to MSNBC. Stephanie Rule was in tears. This is the worst news I've ever had to read. And they had MAGA hats and they said it was MAGA country. Something that that wasn't even reported. This is another example of how it's just, how do you trigger the news? Who can do a better job? Who can get something to go viral? And there's never an apology for all the shit that they say while this hoax takes place.
Again, I just want to remind people, we spotted this because of the weather conditions. Yeah. Nobody's going to be out in 20 below temperatures with 40. A hat on like that.
Mm-hmm.
For starters. The whole thing made zero sense. And so we just ignored it. We made our proclamation. This is bull crap.
Yeah.
although it makes it sound like Trump apologists.
Of course.
And we stopped even reporting on it because it was dumb. And now it comes around to be exactly what we said.
Dumb.
And of course, I'm glad, I guess you followed up. I mean, I wasn't even going to pay any attention to it. But it's just and you're right. Where is the apology for these news outlets that don't do any work? They look at Twitter, and that's their job now. I mean, it's horrible.
Yes. Which is kind of the essence of why we even have this show, is to point out the fallacies of the media and what they're doing. But what they're not doing in this case is apologizing profusely for having started yet another race conversation that we really don't need here at the moment.
And, I'll make this other assertion. This will still be seen by many as an event that did happen.
Yep. That's the worst part.
Yeah. Well, it's like that guy in Chicago where they put the noose around his head and they had the MAGA hat guys. Remember that?
That's right, man.
The same hat that kid wore when he went after that Indian guy, and those horrible high schoolers, they almost beat him up. Yep. You know that? Remember that?
You nailed it. That's exactly it. Well, there you go. Another media lie deconstructed. But we kind of knew it the minute it happened. And just based on the weather, the story made no sense. That's right, Detective Dookie. We're all over it. And we will be back on Thursday for more of the deconstruction of the daily news, whatever else is going on around the world.
Smells like poop.
Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA region number 6 on all the governmental maps in the 5x9 Cludio while we're still in it, in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And if we get this whistle, I'm John C. Dvorak.
With special thanks to Conan Salata, Tom Starkweather, and Noah Wattenmacher for our end-of-show mixes. We will see you again on Thursday. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos! And such.
National emergency.
When you hear the word emergency,
we will have a national emergency.
Threat, danger around the corner, a need to act now.
There's a national emergency, haven't you heard? Even though it shouldn't be there.
Is there really an emergency at the border?
National emergency.
We have a national emergency, all right? Its name is Donald Trump.
And they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit.
I think he lost the government shutdown, so he's giving himself a performance trophy so he can say, I'm a winner.
And we will then be sued.
President himself essentially saying it's not a national emergency.
We will have a national emergency.
There's no emergency. It's a fake, and everybody knows that.
And then we'll end up in the Supreme Court.
It makes no sense.
And what we really want to do is simple. It's not like...
Describe this emergency as a non-emergency.
It's complicated. It's very simple.
And at the same time, it makes perfect sense.
And we'll win in the Supreme Court.
Taking a step in skirts. Men in minis. But will it solve the problem? Men in minis. Taking a step in skirts. Men in minis. But will it solve the problem? What message will this send to the men who attacked?
Many men are acting like women. I mean, they can't deal with the rapings. They can't deal with terrorism. No masculine power in our society to fight back. And that's because our culture has become feminized. Men here are brought up to be women and think like women and be soft-minded.
That is what Europe is about. Men in minis, taking a step in skirts. Men in minis, but will it solve the problem? Men in minis, taking a step in skirts. Men in minis, but will it solve the problem?
That was not what Europe used to be. Normally we have had like male hero virtues. A culture needs to be balanced. You need to have both the masculine part and the feminine part. And now the masculine part is lost, and we see the consequences. So the vacuum that feminism has created means that women are becoming victims. Man needs to take responsibility to defend the women, the children, and the culture. Because now, this postmodern project is dead.
Men in minis, taking a step in skirts. Men in minis, but will it solve the problem? Men in minis, taking a step in skirts. Men in minis, but will it solve the problem?
Maybe this secular humanism is just an illusion.
That was good.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Could ask for more money.